but RRL still able to just get enough to zip away as Rojo does not have enough for the power shot, though he does have one charges, and he may need to use them very soon because Wake Me Up is just continuing to go onto the Wind Ranger. Rojo finally pops them, and we'll have to Wind Run away. But really does wait to the last moment, and now with the Starfall out, it's still going to be enough for Wake Me Up to get the kill. In the meantime, though, at least top lane, Muzi does pick off Argus. So they do lose the Alchemist once again. But big kills happening across the map nonetheless here for Ravens.
Yeah, you're more than happy about mid starting to catch up a little bit for RL, considering the slightly slower laning start for the Storm. Still a bit behind, like 2.5k net worth, not the best position for the Storm. The kills do relieve some of that pressure. There's a few stacks for him to clear out, not the biggest, but any gold is good. Jumping onto Muzi.
He's a tanky boy though with all that bonus armor he got from the Devour, but not tanky enough against all the magic damage they can provide here, and RRL happy to secure the kill himself on the Storm. So 5-5 is the kill score at the moment here between these two. Very slight net worth lead standing for GRIN. And pretty much all that net worth lead is sitting on your Doom and your Medusa, which is pretty natural, I suppose. Both these heroes want to be top of the net worth board. So GRIN, you know, regardless of these deaths happening, as long as your Medusa and Doom are finding net worth, you're probably still going to be pretty happy. Just Wake Me Up, going to avoid the blast-off stun coming in from LGTK. This rotation not really panning out for GRIN, but it does give them a nice opportunity of at least securing the Arcane Rune here on Rojo Fireflu.
That spell spam and Wind Ranger are going to be pretty important to set up in this lane. RRL already just walking all the way back to get a bit of a reset and a full bottle in. But they've got this opportunity to push mid. They've got the output with the Ench around along with the Wildwing Ripper. It's not going to take too much to melt this objective. No Fortify left. Just an easy mid-tier 1 from this movement from GRIN. Opening up the map more, giving them more space to farm up on that Doom and Medusa. Speaking of that Doom, though, Muzi.
Here we go. Talia Gangster is here with the Unleash, and I mean, it is still a Marcy, John. She does a lot of damage with that sidekick Unleash. So even the channeled stun here by our Alchemist, but Argus was not required. Talia Gangster will get it done himself.
Yeah, and again, that's a good sign of life despite having a pretty atrocious lane for Italian Gangstar. He still has more farm than his Storm. And this is a pretty impactful kill. He is working onto a Diffusal Rush as well on the Marcy. But GRIN take this opportunity to just focus fire down bot. Look for another quick push to come out here. Fortify will stall them out. And Italiano is back in the area, but he doesn't have Unleash for a minute.
He's going to run right past them, in fact. He's just going to reveal his position, not really wanting the team fight without the Unleash, but it's kind of forcing them back. Very, very nice. Argus, please reconnect your webcam, sir. We want to see that beautiful face of yours. Top tier 1 tower. It's going to be under siege here from GRIN. Because Argus not really in a position as the Alchemist where you can really commit for a defense here. Bottom, however, Rojo Fireflu getting caught. Windrun is going to allow him an escape route, but the chase is still ongoing as Rojo is trying his best to survive through this, but RRL is going to be there to back up the Mirana. So they've got the Wind Ranger down. Meanwhile, Kara finding himself in a spot of danger, but is going to be able to survive through it. RRL would love to try and take down LGTK there as well, but sadly was out of mana completely. We'll have to let him go. Still some nice pickups coming out here for Ravens, as we are going to have another pause coming out from Argus. Maybe just to try and resolve some of the webcam issues we were having. There we go.
Looks like it is. Camera's back. Should get back into the game. G's are called. And Ravens, I mean, these are big kills, especially since you're finding them on RRL. And we talked about how bad this lane was for RL. He's bouncing back in. He's not too far behind now. Only 300 gold behind a Wind Ranger. So this investment for movement onto mid has paid off. I think for the side of GRIN, you're still in a good position. You know, you mentioned it. As long as this Dusa and Doom is farming up, you're not going to feel too upset here on the side of Ravens. But you have to be cautious. Like if Italiano Gangstar hits this diffusal timing, your Deuce is still just going to get run down. The Alchemist as a core, sure, it's kind of faded away in the later stages of this patch, but it's still a decent hero, even though, again, it's not been winning as much, but the only thing you have to worry about the Alk here is really just this Deuce Scotty timing. Outside of that, you're pretty free to do what you want here.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a very even game between these two teams. Might take the time out to say, Jonathan, by the way, that Rojo Fireflu actually tweeted at me the other day. He was kind of defending your point that you were making. He said, how could you say that my name is better than Salivating Salamander? And I just outright said to him, it is better. Rojo Fireflu is better sounding than Salivating Salamander. Just because you've got the double S thing going doesn't mean your name's good, John. And speaking of the devil, he will be punished for his insolence here, salivating. They do land the stun, and he is going to go down to RRL.
You know what that tells you, Mike? This should be a self-reflective lesson. Your taste probably is a bit trash.
Think about it, John. Like, you try being a play-by-play caster where a guy names himself Salivating Salamander. Like, you want to say that every 2 seconds?
Yes.
No,
it's just like in China when you've got, what was it in China? You have Super and Super. We had
Super
XSS, XXS. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of really mind-blowing stuff in China, if I remember right. Just really confusing names, you know?
I think
could always be worse, Mike.
I think overall, just choosing letters for your name is always a no-no when it comes to the casting side of things. Just remember SCCC. That was a real one. Yeah, that was fun.
I missed that.
And then there was the M's. Remember in Div 2 of China last tour? Oh, that drove me nuts. That drove me nuts.
At some point, you were just like, I'm just gonna say M, and I was like, nope, I'm still saying
It's like, I mean, when you choose names like that, you don't deserve to be you know, you don't deserve the recognition, honestly.
How about someone named ABC123? Would that be acceptable?
No, it wouldn't, Jonathan. Put some effort into your damn name.
It's effort. He had to hit 6 keys, Mike.
He did. Rojo Fireflu, he's gonna have to hit some keys here, John. Italian Gangster, focus fired up, but he's just fine to rebound away. In fact, now Ravens have grouped up down a bot lane. They want to try and go for this big team fight, but not seeing the initiation. And also potentially not wanting to fight into the full squad of GRIN. Now they even bring in Muzi. RRL still trying, but a nice shackle, and now the Doom out. They've got the stop down, and that's going to mean that GRIN, they'd love to continue the fight now. But Ravens obviously looking to back their way out of here. I think the one hero they did not want to see in all of this was the Doom popping up last second, but, well, there it is. He does get there.
And Muzi just in the right spot at the right time, taking that gate through to have that impact. Rather unfortunate for the side of Ravens, losing out in your Storm. He is your big playmaker at the moment, so you're just forced to back off over a pretty awkward start. Italiano getting jumped early as well probably doesn't help the cause. Not able to utilize that diffusal to try to melt through to do so, while it's still somewhat manageable at this point. So you're more than happy for GRIN, 6-8. 1K lead standing for GRIN. The side of Ravens, try again.
Yeah, not to be dissuaded. Salivating Salamander now getting targeted here and does go down to RRL. RRL quite close to having an annoying name himself, John. Speaking of the lettered names. Wanted to point that out. Because R's not a nice letter
ABC.
to say. Yeah, but ABC is easy to say. That's the thing. Bottom lane.
You watch, Mike. I'll convince a C player to rename to ABC123.
Well,
I'd have some fun there.
I'd have to be casting C first, Jonathan, to really care. Bottom lane. Soul. Gonna get jumped here on the Medusa. Arrow's actually gonna land, and he's quite low on mana, but he does have the Stone Gaze going still. RRL is able to get out of there. Meanwhile, Ravens. So they're just gonna retreat for now. You're a bit, I say you're a bit low on RRL, but he has reset with the bottle, so you could think about going back in, but think the threat of Muzi is what's scaring them. Thing is, he doesn't have the Doom anyway, so they're gonna make the jump in with the Unleash up from Italiano Gangster. And it really just doesn't take very long when you've got this sidekick and Unleash available. And I actually like the Diffusal build up by Italiano Gangster as well on top. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a solution. It's a good way of just slowing people down with the inhibit.
What happened?
Kara may be going a little bit too hard. Yeah, he topped up RRL.
Okay.
He topped him up, Mike. He did the needful. He did what he had to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Sacrifices have to be made.
And they were made. RRL, full mana, full HP. He's a happy man now. He did what he had to do. 3k advantage now to the way of Ravens, which is to be expected because you do have an Alchemist on your side of things as Ravens. Speaking of that Alchemist, Argus has spent a lot of time just off the map, and well, he's doing a great job of it, John. Like, Radiance up, S&Y up, now has the full blink up, and that does mean he can start to get involved with his team. And I think you may want to get involved rather soon, because you don't really want to give Soul the time to finish up the Skadi, you know, just peacefully just farming up in the jungle all the time as this Dusa. You'd much rather get involved now and start applying a little bit of pressure here with this Alchemist. But then again, he might wait for the BKB to be up before he really gets going. We'll see.
Yeah, can't fault him either way. I think either call out is fine. Argus actually joined these earlier fights in his general area, so I don't think he'd shy away from the opportunity. We'll find out soon enough. 4K lead still stands for Raven. And I feel like there's a need to really try to get something done with Italiano. Find a shield rune for themselves here as well. So this should be our dive rune for RRL. And actually, they are clumped up as 5. We'll see. Want to show that blink off.
Here you go. Down towards the bot lane they go. Muzi was showing there on the creep wave for a moment. They know exactly where he's gone to farm, in the hot tub. Sometimes, John, you get caught with your pants down in the hot tub. Not the greatest situation to be in here for Muzi, but it does happen.
Would you be in a situation where you're in a bathtub with your pants on?
No.
Is the question.
No,
so
you
I guess it's not too surprising that you get caught in the hot tub with your pants down. That's perfectly natural. No need to be embarrassed.
He might be a little bit embarrassed here, John. He's getting caught out here by RRL, though a lot of disarms coming out. In fact, RRL now the one getting taken out. It seems as he has to zip away. Top lane in the meantime, a full-blown team fight has broken out. Italian and Gangster being protected here by Kara, but there's only so much the Pugner can do before they start to take his life. So 2 down for Ravens. GRIN can start working on towards that top tier 2 tower. And obviously
nice
you don't wear full-blown pants in a hot tub, Jonathan, but you might wear board shorts, you know? You might wear some underwear.
I mean, if it's your own private hot tub in your room, then
in your room,
it's just like a bathtub.
Well, how wealthy are you, Jonathan, to have it in your room?
I don't know. This is their house. It's right by their tier 2. It's their hot tub. They can decide whether the pants stay on or off, Mike. But in this case, Ravens, Italiano Gangster was walking down the lane with no pants. He gets caught. He gets embarrassed. Nice cleanup from GRIN, enforcing modesty as the Scotty's up. So the timings for Soul are lining up. And for Raven, I mean, you start to get worried whether or not you can handle this Dusa. Because, yes, you have an answer in your Marcy, but just doesn't feel like we're seeing an easy way for Italiano to just focus in on the Dusa in the first place. Like, even with the BKB up, as a melee carry, once Stone Gaze is popped, you're kind of stuck in a really awkward spot. And GRIN, just going for a smoke play now.
Here we go. Smoke up the run through the mid lane. RRL actually maybe going to be spotted here first. Be a great opportunity to get a nice Doom off here on the Storm if you could. Kara there as well to help out the Storm. GRIN are taking their time to move in. Keep in mind, you don't have anything like a blink to initiate with on the Doom. You are relying on your team to set up for that Doom opportunity. No Ravens, they're just going for Roshan instead. It's not going to take too long with the acid spray and the sidekick available. It's going to be a pretty fast process here for Ravens. There is plenty of time for GRIN to try and get in there and try to force a fight. In fact, they are making their way over now. Kara is in position to break the smoke, and Roshan is getting extremely low. They don't have that much time. Kara, he's going to get jumped here, but Roshan is still just being focused by Ravens as they do secure, and it seems like they just want to go for the retreat. Muzi popping the BKB preemptively, getting ready for that big team fight, but never gets a Doom target for himself. And everyone from Ravens seems to be out just fine. They are all safe. In fact, there is a chance they could try to turn this fight now. They did throw a casual arrow out, but it doesn't end up landing here, so they won't bother trying to capitalize.
Yeah, no need to force the issue too hard here. Just get back, reset, wait for your opponent to be back up to have even, further battering for RRL. And just kind of rest easy. Not too much pressure onto Ravens just yet. A heart on its way for Argus with a little bit more gold necessary for it. So your Alk is starting to hit critical mass now. And your one issue right now is just having Italiano Gangster try to be on top of this Dusa. The BKB will help. Only 160 gold away now for our Marcy. And once that's up, again, it starts to simplify just a tad bit. It does feel like the blink is probably more necessary here. Again, more time needed for that to come out. GRIN, they've done a great job of just farming up under Dusa and Doom in this downtime. Although, again, they're starting to lag behind in comparison to the Alchemist, but that is the Alk. That's to be expected. Like, the full Scotty being out on Soul is pretty scary to fight into for the Alk. And for Muzi, he's saving up for that blink. Once you can get the blink Doom off, I don't know how scared you'll be of RRL in the Storm. And he is the one big issue you have, just the Storm zipping in and out. The blink Doom fixes a lot of that.
Mid lane, LGTK spotted. RRL immediately just jumping in, though disarmed again. Is rooted up in place. Shackle also going to land here from Rojo Fire Flute, but they are not trying to go for the... Oh, never mind. The blast off will get it done. So they do at least get an Aegis for this death on LGTK, but RRL is not done yet. He zips right towards Salivating Salamander now. Not hitting with the zip damage, sadly, but should be able to control him up long enough for Argus to come in with the Unstable Concoction. And while it is going to be a bit of a slow process here against the Ench, they are going to be able to secure the kill just fine. And RRL going to get his nice little top up here by Kara. They call it the gas station in China, as they do. And the Ravens starting to really take over this game, though it is still only a 2k net worth lead, to be absolutely fair. But it seems like they are ready to once again try to apply some more pressure.
Yeah, they can start to try to take more of the map away, try to slow down the side of GRIN. They are going for another smoke play out. Full home.
Right, Fire Flute going to be targeted. Vortex is out, and he just gets bursted down. That's your mid-wind ranger dying pretty casually here to Ravens. This is where you start to feel really strong as Ravens, just finding these individual pickoffs. It's not going to really lead to any objective taking yet, but these are very nice kills.
These are very big kills, actually, for them to kind of reel this back in. Again, keeping the lid on the Wind Ranger. Again, like, your point still stands, though, Mike. Your earlier point where the Deuce and the Doom are farming. But you do start to get worried about how much you're bleeding out to Ravens. Like, these heroes, they're not doing too bad. They've managed to keep parity with a Doom and farm, which is not a good sign for your Doom with a Midas Devour. The fact that RRL and Italian Gangster are even within striking range are... It's not the ideal. They are still clumped up around top. They've got vision in the area.
I'm just going to move in. Salivating Salamander, but he ignores him completely, trying to find LGTK on the techies, but sadly ends up stunning himself. And everyone just TPs out of there. Nobody getting caught out by Ravens. GRIN will be pretty happy with the retreat, I think. Buying even more time here for Soul to get that big farm up on the Medusa. Overall, I must say, a fairly slow game. 9-14 so far. This is why I was saying just earlier that, you know, Alchemist is one of those heroes you just hate to see, because this is what tends to happen. He's a farm boy though. Like, you can't really get too much more farm than this. Nullify now up. Going for the overwhelming blink up next. RRL, mid lane. Was trying to jump Salivating Salamander, but didn't quite have the damage. Now they do find the Doom though. Muzi, he's a big target. He'll commit the Doom immediately onto the Storm. Blastoff is there to follow up. They did get Muzi, but they're going to sacrifice RRL in the meantime. So Italian Gangster also in trouble, is going to survive with the rebound. So Argus has jumped in. Rojo Fireflu going to be targeted by the Alchemist, but it is getting just kited around here. Nullify used again, but it won't matter if he's just getting completely kited. LGTK now being the target here of Argus. Meanwhile, in the back, Salivating Salamander finally going to go down, but Soul is getting right to work. Problem is, he's also getting kited on the Medusa. Luckily, he does have full mana. Problem is, he is surrounded by 4 heroes now, though they are not attacking because they just can't deal with it. Argus looks like he's going to be left behind here by Ravens, as they have lost Wake Me Up. Argus still being chased down, eventually going to drop as well. It's kind of the issue here for Ravens, is everyone else was just low in HP, so they did not want to feed all the kills away to the Medusa. And Soul, he just stood his ground and just fought back against the Arc.
Yeah, it's just a lot of back and forth. That did cost 2 buybacks inside of GRIN, but those are basically your supports. You don't mind that too much. Those work in favor of GRIN now. You are seeing the issues you have in handling something like the Medusa. If you're not able to be on top with Italian and Gangster onto that hero, then you don't have the mana burden to kind of deal with that mana shield. And it's just hard to handle. You know, you don't have a great way of countering Dusa this game outside of your Marcy with the right clicks. I like that Italiano is going for the Heaven's Halberd, so you will have a disarm to play with, preventing the Dusa output, or even something like the Wind Ranger and even the Ench. So you have some good targets to kind of pin down there. Smoke out from Ravens once more, though.
Absolutely. Zip in immediately. They found Muzi again. The BKB was there in time. Still Italian and Gangster. He doesn't care for the BKB. He just wants to keep going, but this is very forced. Soul does get the Stone Gaze, and now Italian and Gangster getting blasted off on by LGTK, but he had the BKB himself, so he's going to be okay. So LGTK does drop here on the techies, and now RRL is just continuing to go, but they do hold him in place with a nice shackle out, landing on 2 heroes. There goes the Storm again. Kara now going to prove to be in trouble. Argus going to show up and try to save this team fight, but he gets doomed up immediately on the Alchemist. Not exactly what you wanted to see if you are a Ravens fan. They are going to lose this Arc, it seems, eventually. But he will end up running. The Doom does wear off. And Argus, he actually proves to be a little bit too tanky. Never mind.
Yeah, just a bit too much on the Elk to kind of keep him down. Nevertheless, you found 3 kills for yourself here, only losing the techies on GRIN. So even if you don't find the Elk kill, again, you're in a good position now for the side of GRIN. You've got the full Butterfly on Soul. So even if this Marcy could be on top of you, the missed chances just make it so hard to manage that Dusa. And for the side of Ravens, it doesn't feel like they have the best AoE control coming out just yet. This Ags build up in RRL will mitigate some of those issues, but it's still a ways off. He's going to need the Ags plus a Lotus Orb, or a Lincoln Sphere here, just to protect from that great lockdown that we're seeing from GRIN. And for Ravens, again, it's... I don't know how you put Italiano right next to the Medusa, because Solt's positioning has just been too good. He's been waiting quite a fair bit in these fights to come in to join his team, and when he does join in, he's so far back that you only feasibly have the Storm that can zip right up. Good denying the DD at the least, and GRIN. And this game just simplifies. It goes on. You start to run out of good options for Ravens in taking these fights. Like, it's just very reliant on RRL.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
GRIN. The next Roshan attempt. 10 seconds away. Salivating Salamander a little bit too early to the pit, but should just stick around. GTK just drop some mine. That'll do the trick. And Roshan gonna get a bit of a surprise as he respawns up. There you go. Information is available for the Roshan now. The Ravens, they have popped a Moonlight Shadow, and it seems like they're just going to go for the Radiant Tormentor still. Yeah, a free chance upgrade here for someone in your team. And it is going to go the way of Wake Me Up. I mean, you'd much rather be in the Roshan pit right now if you are Ravens. And it's either they haven't realized, or no, they realize now. They have scanned. Problem is, it doesn't really feel like you're going to be in a position where you can contest this. And you could try for a steal, but it's proving to be a little bit too slow here. So instead, they're going to try and push in the top tier 3 tower. Telling the Gangster actually getting a hell of a lot of damage off into that tier 3. But we'll have to back off because there was a TP rotation from Muzi. So half the HP of the tier 3 tower is gone. Not too big of a deal though for GRIN. I'm sure they're more than happy picking up the Aegis for themselves. In the meantime though, it did allow RRL to pick up the full Aghanim Scepter. So now you do have the blue hole available for the Storm. And a very nice and important Arcane Rune as well. Happy days.
Very happy days. They have to watch this smoke play out from GRIN though. Italiano.
Oh, nice juke.
Ooh.
They didn't want to commit the Doom, trying to get greedy with the War Stomp, but it does not pay off.
Good smoke break from Italiano. Good reflexes as well. So wasting some time out from GRIN. This is much needed time for the side of Ravens to and keep that build up, especially on Argus. Does have the overwhelming blink up, going for a Moon Shard next. Should just devour that. Full MKB up and running for Soldo. The Deuce is just doing way too much damage right now. It's a concern. I don't know what your solution is from Ravens for Dedusa. Everything else you can kind of manage, but Dedusa, the only situation I can see the side of Ravens managing Dedusa is maybe in a 1v5. Like if you isolate Dedusa that long, melt down her team first and take care of Dedusa alone, it's somewhat alright. But again, it's hard to see that situation even coming out. And GRIN, they're feeling much more confident. Shoving in the top and mid, and potentially could just open up for the high ground now.
Here we go. It's all going to get started, but bottom lane was also being forced in. In fact, they're doing it a lot faster, but Muzi, he's in with the wall stop, and now the Doom being committed onto the Master. Still a huge vortex coming up from RRL, and somehow Italian the Gangster is actually out of there for now, being healed up by the Pugna. He has a secondary chance at life. Problem is, though, they are going to leave Argus behind. And oh, hold on a minute. Argus moving a bit too quickly here is actually going to make it out. I mean, where's the lockdown? How does Argus keep just walking away?
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Just goes full Forrest Gump, runs off. No one can catch him, just a bit too quick. Your lockdown here on GRIN, it's not the most amazing, especially when your wind range is down. Like you are relying on that Gleipnir, it feels like, to kind of keep a hero in, especially if you don't land at War Stomp. It's a little bit unfortunate for the side of GRIN. A 1-for-1, a support for a mid. You're feeling pretty all right with that for Raven. You haven't shown a solution yet for Soul on that Dusa. And Aegis is still up for quite a fair bit more time. So there's still an opportunity for GRIN to build up more on the map and keep pressuring Ravens despite that loss.
Dire's bottom tower
In the bottom lane, Argus looking for the big initiation, gets a double stun off, immediately trying for the Salamander. It's going to be fine to force stuff away, so Argus instead going after LGTK. Soul being kited out here on the Medusa, not feeling too happy right now as they finally do take care of the techies, and now they can look back onto the Medusa. He does have Stone Gaze in a couple seconds though, so Soul should be able to turn this one around, plus the Aegis is still up, of course. Well, not really much of a point in trying to go for the Medusa at the moment. You want the other targets behind the Medusa, though he is very low on mana now, but he's still healthy enough, and now a great shack with Rojo Fire Flute landing on 2. Locking them down with the Gleipnir. Still kiting in and out is Ravens trying their absolute best to not give any kills away. But they've been locked down too much. They've lost Kara on the Pugna. In they go again. Rojo Fire Flute this time getting caught out. A huge pickoff for Ravens. It's still 2v4. But everyone's just so afraid of this Medusa. That you don't want to approach Muzi because Soul is standing right next to him. And so even with 3-4 down on the side of GRIN, it's just not worth it. You can't go into Soul.
You just can't. Gap closing onto the Deuce is just extremely difficult. Stone Gaze pops on and your melee cores just can't focus in on that Deuce. H still stands. Not for too long, 20 minutes left, but 20 seconds left, but you've managed to get a lot out with the Aegis. You force out these really awkward moves from the side of Ravens and just establish this Deuce as a very massive core. Full Daedalus up and running now as well. So again, the output right now on Soul is just incredible. Like, you don't have the same output just yet on side of Raven. Raven, for their part, again, they're holding on to the game. They've ensured that the Aegis isn't at least under high ground here. So they've managed to stall out, and they could look to contest for the next if they are in a position in the map to kind of take control of Roche once more. But again, this game is not simplifying for Ravens. It's getting simpler for the side of GRIN. Because you just put Deuce up front, and honestly, that's pretty much it. Just put Deuce up front and see how the game plays, because there's still no answer for this.
Here we go again. 5-man smoke up.
Radiant are scanning.
Rotating into the mid lane is Ravens. Argus shying in the mid lane, almost trying to bait GRIN in. Big wraparound from Ravens, but now a counter smoke has been used up by GRIN. Into the river they go. They'll see Argus. The Alchemist immediately jumped up. Doom is committed. They missed the blast off though. And now the Vortex RRL landing on 3 heroes immediately. But do they have the follow-up? It doesn't seem like it yet. Raven's going to kite out again. They have used the Stone Gaze. Soul now on the run though, not feeling quite as safe as they dispose him up. Soul dropping low, out of mana completely. The Vortex going to hold them down again. They're gone. Soul is down. Muzi is down to boot. They finally deal with the Medusa. And there's no buyback of all things. No buyback for Medusa. They can actually try to go high ground, but I don't think Ravens realize it.
Yeah, it's again, like, this time around, they managed to focus down the Deuce, and it makes all the difference. If you can be on top, if you can chain stun her down, isolate her from the rest of the team, that's where your fight can shine. I'm a bit surprised that Solo would actually fall like that, but it's a huge opening. You can melt these objectives with an Alk. Doesn't take too long here.
Yeah, here we go. They got the creep wave now. They'll move into through the top lane. Jump in is there. Argus trying to go for a bit more. Is onto the techies. So LGTK will go down. Now the top rack's not going to last very long. Mind you, there is still a T2 mid tower standing. So Argus, he's going to run down towards the bottom lane instead. Rojo Fire Flute will get jumped on here by the Alk. But Argus really just wants the bottom tier 3 still. RL has different plans though, making the jump in on the Wind Ranger, but Rojo, he had a cheese available, so he will eat that. Muzi in the meantime trying to go for as many kills as he possibly can, but it's finding nothing. Zanaro does land very nicely, stopping him in his tracks. And seeing that Soul is up and available now with the respawn, they will leave the building, but they are 1 racks up.
Yeah, they're in a good position now to just, again, further control the map. We're at the point where Argus should... I mean, he's queuing up a full Silver Edge. I'm not sure what you replace. Maybe you just drag your Blink in and out at this point. I would say this is not a bad game to actually farm Ags for your other heroes. Like we were talking about this earlier, Mike, an Ags up on Italian and Gangstar would be massive. More uptime on Unleash. The silences could win them some fights here. Wouldn't mind that at all. Maybe the Roshan Ags will just be what you have to sell it for, although it's spawning down south here. Smoke out from GRIN, though. This could be a big one if they find the angle.
Here we go. Roshan just respawns as the fight's about to break out. RRL, though, another massive vortex out from the storm. Italian against him, but no, the Shackle going to hold him down. He's in a bit of danger, gets the BKB off just barely. As Soul, with the Stone Gaze, trying his best to fight back, but everyone from Ravens just turning their back on him. Argus looking to go back in now. RRL back in on the Medusa. They've caught the Alchemist for a moment, but the Vortex going to hold them down as Argus is trying his absolute best to just to survive through this. Can't really do it in the end, though. He is going to go down. It's a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of GRIN so far. They will chase for a little bit more, but everyone else is just fine to get their way out. This Alchemist, I mean, as farmed as he is, they still just cannot deal with Soul unless the rest of the heroes are dead around him.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Here we go. T2 bottom tower going to be under siege now from GRIN. RRL in with the Vortex again. We'll start chipping away. Talina Gangster has brought back, and so is Argus. They're coming right back into this fight, but the immediate TP is away from Soul and Muzi. And these buybacks are pretty forced, to say the least. I mean, you weren't nearby any towers to TP to either. It was just pretty rough buybacks.
Yeah, not the best, but this should allow them to secure Roshan, which is really what they'd want here. Have that secondary life to cover your bases. Free Ags as well. Hoping you see that on Italiano Gangstar. And once you have that lower Unleash, again, more uptime. The silences, the pulses is big. Having a free Dispel on hand could be nice as well. So don't mind this too much. And there you go. Oh, Italiano Gangstar does grab the Aegis as well.
Oh,
he'll be taking point now.
I like that. Because the thing is, he's the guy dealing most of the damage here to the Medusa, right? Like, he's the one bursting through Soul's mana pool. And now with the Ags up, this Unleashed silence, man, it is so ridiculous. I actually like the fact that he's holding the Aegis instead.
Yeah, I think it can work out. It's just maybe a double-edged sword. Like, you don't have the MKB up yet. You can't pierce through the evasion Soul has, so it's a little bit tricky for you to just dish the damage. Still, we'll see a Smoke out and a Moonlight out from Ravens with these pickups. They might be able to fully clean up another lane if they find a win here.
They are going to try and move in through the top lane. GRIN just patiently waiting for this rotation to come in. Italian Gangster immediately jumping onto Rojo. Fireflu with the silences out. Rojo in such big trouble. Italiano, though, dropping quite low himself, is going to go down the first life. So the Aegis is gone. Kara drops the boot. He will buy back on the Pugna. But it seems like they need to retreat here on the side of Ravens. And, well, they've lost their Alchemist again. No buyback available. What do you do now? Like, it seems like you're just like skipping creep waves here as Ravens. But GRIN, they can look to try and go high ground.
Yeah. We've got a little bit of that opening lined up. No secondary life to worry about. There is still the cheese on RRL, but I don't know if it matters without the Alk being there. Just doesn't feel like you can do as much without that big damage source. Good cuts from Wake Me Up, though, preventing any further movement onto the mid.
The chase is on here from Muzi, trying to find more targets. I don't know if this is worth it, though. Like, it felt like you were... I suppose they were creep skipping, to be fair, so you couldn't really push the mid lane in anyway. Wake Me Up. He's going to go down. Thing is, now you're not in really a great position to try and go high ground as GRIN. It's only 54 seconds left for the Alchemist. Like, it's still enough time to approach the high ground. But you might put yourself in a bit of an awkward scenario here if you're not too careful. But GRIN, it seems like they're going to commit for this. They're gone.
I mean, you've got some time for Ravens. At least, like, half a minute, you should be able to come in for at least the second set of racks. But you don't have much leeway here for mistakes. You've got to be able to hammer on to Soul somehow.
Muzi immediately in with the Doom out, has found the Pugna, but Italian Gangster and moving in onto the Doom is hitting very hard right now. Pugna will be safe. Italian Gangster again jumping in, trying to drain some of the mana pool of Soul. RRL jumps in with another 3-man vortex out on the storm. They've got LDTK down, and now the Medusa, she's out of mana completely. Oh, she's in huge trouble. This is not what you wanted. Soul is down. So is Muzi. And so is Salivating Salamander. And this is what I was just saying, John.
What the heck?
It's too late.
Radiant are scanning.
Yeah, they take their time. Good stalling from Ravens leads to this timing, and well, they stay in the game. They have their high ground still fully intact. They've got the Rax advantage here on the Dire side. Perhaps Ravens now. I mean, they're about to hit some key timings. Italiano almost into the MKB. Consistent damage onto the Dusa. Despite the butterfly, it's going to kick in. Roshan, though, still a ways off, but you've got this opening onto high ground to force some buybacks here. Again, with a Marcy, with an Alec, it doesn't take too long to melt these objectives. Goes fairly damn quick.
It really does. Onto the high ground, Ravens working overtime for this win attempt here for game number 1 of this best of 3 series, but it's not over yet. Buybacks are incoming. You still have buybacks available on both the Doom and the Medusa, but they're going to try and rush through this tier 3 mid tower with the sidekick placed on Argus. RL going to try and force those buybacks with a big vortex, finding 2 targets. There's the buyback from Medusa Soul, trying to rejoin this fight. With the buyback committed, they won't be able to secure the mid-racks. But it seems like Ravens are happy with the buyback committal of Soul, and they'll be more than satisfied here just getting out now.
I mean, now you know that if you kill that Dusa, the game's pretty much over. And Italiano has got the item to kill that Dusa now. Full MKB up. So, again, Butterfly Evasion not going to do much. His usage of his Halberd has been pretty on point as well onto Soul. So it's been fairly good. GRIN trying to use this numbers advantage, smoking out. See if they find a nice juicy target. If you kill off the Storm, if you kill off RRL, he still has buyback, but it puts a awkward position out for the side of Ravens if they lose anyone at this point.
Mid lane, GRIN. Group up again, trying to go through the top lane, it seems. Problem is the creep wave through the top is being forced in, so someone's going to need to go back and address that. The Ravens, they'll know about that as well. Like, they're just going to hold their position in the base for now. But creeps are onto the tier 4 towers. For now, GRIN are just completely ignoring that happening. Just let that be.
Radiant's middle barracks are under attack.
Oh, it's the Rax falling now. I have to TP back. Muzi has to settle the creep wave. Decent damage onto that range Rax. More than happy with that from Ravens. They wait out this numbers disadvantage. Pugnet's going to be back up. They've got this opportunity to go again. Buybacks only 20 seconds away, although the gold isn't quite there for all the heroes here on Ravens.
That's a nice line drawn out as well. They went to the exact position of GRIN. This could be a huge team fight because the Doom, well, he's here now. The Doom has rejoined the team. Kara immediately caught out first, but RRL with a 4-man vortex. Again, this man, he just can't miss. This Storm is just doing absolutely everything to try and give him the chance in this game, but now he's caught out. Zip away is there, though. RRL barely survives. But it feels like this guy is just working overtime to try and get Ravens this win. He's trying so damn hard.
He is. He's really been setting up with his Ags pickup. Side of GRIN now. And again, they've got the numbers advantage. It's only the Pugnet dead. But it's still pretty damn awkward for the side of Ravens, but not comfy enough for them to fully commit either. Oh.
Salivating Salamander. Caught. Arrow gonna connect as well. There is help incoming. They're looking for a Doom target. Muzi will break the Lincolns. Doom is not being committed. Doesn't really matter. It's on cooldown anyway as they do get RRL down, but he's gonna buy back. Italian Gangster as well dropping on the Marcy. So you buy back on your Storm, but you're missing Italian Gangster here on the Marcy for 100 seconds. It did start to feel like he was the real big damage dealer here. Well, I guess he's going to have to show us what he's got here against Soul and the Medusa. As you can see, the damage output is just really not there. RRL, again, trying his absolute best to delay this bottom racks going down. And lines have been drawn up towards the Roshar pit now from GRIN, so they are actually not going to bother trying to go for this bottom racks. Instead, they will go to the Roshan pit, but Roshan's still a minute 50 away from respawning.
That's an interesting call inside of GRIN. That gives enough time for the Marcy to be back up, for them to kind of get a little bit of a reset out, buyback ready in Argus. Again, still nothing on RRL. His buyback's kind of worthless. You do get some good item timings though for GRIN. AoE Doom now available for Muzi, so this is where the fights really start to be much, much harder for Ravens with that Ags Doom up and the Ags up and Rojo Fire Flu as well. Invis that it doesn't break on Windrun's pretty big. So the tools are there. Side of Ravens, they need to be cautious. Like GRIN is still scaling up nicely, and again, like despite being 5k up, it doesn't feel like you really have the advantage here. You have to take these fights in a very specific way for Ravens to kind of shine.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Bottom lane, Ravens looking to set up again. It's just been such a tough game for this dire end of things, and again, it just goes back to this carry pick. It just feels so lackluster. Argus trying to work towards a Moonshard now to give him that bonus attack speed he's looking for, because he's really just not hitting fast enough at all. Roshan, he's going to come up in 20 seconds now.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
The team's so patiently waiting. There's your 5-man smoke now, Ravens. You've got to do everything you can to protect this Marcy, because as soon as he dies, Ravens are just missing too much damage. They're going to wrap around. They're actually going towards the mid lane, maybe trying to rat this one out. Look at the creep wave there, John. Oh, and Soul's going to be the one to defend it. Stupendous. If they can kill Soul, he's got no buyback, and he just picked up a Divine as well. It's on the courier. No. He's going to take it for himself. Instead, though, they found Rojo Fireflu in the bot lane, so they're going to try for the Wind Ranger. Jump in is there, they'll break the linkers, but he's got the BKB. Italian Gangster is being targeted, and the Doom has been committed, though it does go back the other way onto the Doom as well. So the runaway is there. He is still not down, and the life drain is going to give him a bit of heal coming out here, and the Marcy he is actually going to survive through this, but not quite. Firefly will get it done. Now Kara's the target on the Pugna. He'll be left behind here for Ravens, and how even Argus gets caught by a shackle, so he'll try for a TP. Oh, and they couldn't see him. They didn't know he was there. He probably could have got away with it. And with this Divine up on Soul now, I mean, they're going for the... surely they're going to go for the end after this Roshan play.
Yeah, it should be the end game. Unfortunate for Ravens. I mean, if they got that angle, if they killed off the Deucer right then and there on the solo defense, then you'd be in a pretty different spot. You'd be on to the tier 4s at this point, melting the Ancient. But doesn't quite line up. GRIN get a good read. They back up, provide some support for the Dusa. Aegis goes the way of Soul. And yeah, this is when things are... It's kind of difficult now for Ravens. Like, it's never been easy. It's been very hard fought to find some of these wins. But all they can do is try to stall. Or else just gonna have to keep trying to zip clear out the heat waves. But you're gonna lose your bot. And I'm pretty sure if you're GRIN right now, you think about the tier 4s. You don't even bother playing this game. Just go tier 4s, end it while you can, while the Heroes and Ravens just aren't around.
The bottom racks is going to go down. GRIN looking to try and go for Megas. Kara going to try his best to slow this down with the Decrepify. Arrow's going to land onto Rojo Fireflu here. Rojo's going to be fine to tank through that though, no problem. Soul. He's got the mid racks down, going for the Megas. Everyone is now back up for Ravens. There are at least a buyback available on the Alchemist, so you've got that going for you. Here we go. Final lane of barracks for GRIN to try and secure. Again, not taking very long at all, considering you have a full Divine Rapier on Soul. RRL gonna threaten with the Vortex, but never even throws it out. Kara trying to go for the Decrepify, but Aeon Disc immediately procced after one hit. Italian Gangster, they're going to jump in. They're onto the back. They want at least the Edge gone first, and they do find him. Onto the Techies they go, but the Stone Gaze is making it rather hard to secure these kills as LGTK finally goes down, but now the Doom is out on the Alchemist, so he is able to run away from this. And GRIN, they're sticking around. They want this final lane of barracks so darn bad. But Ravens, they are in still a position to try and defend, though the Rax is now officially gone. So Megas are incoming. Mind you, the Radiant base has been under attack by creeps for such a long time. Ravens jump in again onto the Medusa. It's just so hard when you can't get in there and do any damage because you're afraid of the repercussions with this the Divine Rapier on the Medusa available. And I think for GRIN, considering how healthy they look right now, they just don't need to back out of here.
They could keep going. I'm a little bit surprised Italiano managed to live through that jump. He's around, he could still try again. The Halberd usage has to be key. They can pin down Soul, isolate the Medusa again, get the Halberd off to cut some of that damage. This fight can still open up. It takes a lot of effort now on the side of Ravens to make a creep's disadvantage. They can hold with the Alk, they can hold with their heroes on hand, but boy, does this feel like a uphill battle, or up mountain battle, if that's a word, Mike.
It's a word, Jonathan. I'm not sure if it's a saying. I think this is what you were trying to say to me. Yeah, up to be like that right
the
now.
hill's too tiny, you know?
Yeah.
You're heading up mountain.
Well, mountain is essentially just a big hill, isn't it?
Well, sure, I suppose, technically. A hill, it's like what, any geological feature that's around maximum 300 feet up, I believe, if I recall. I forget the metric of that. I don't know why.
I don't think we need the intricacies of that, Jonathan. Thank you for that, though.
It's important to categorize well, Mike.
Of course. Soul. They pin out. Double Vortex is there. RRL. Good start to the team fight, but another big Doom committed onto the Alchemist, and they are just falling apart. Soul is just ripping them to shreds. RRL gonna go down. Buyback available. They're all committing for it. Mega's incoming into the bases. Soul is finally getting a little bit low on mana, but the problem is he still has the Aegis up, and the damage output is way too high. 2 buybacks, or rather diebacks immediately. A third one to boot. That's going to be a GG. And they do call it. Wake me up has seen enough. RL is still trying to fight, but ultimately could not do anything any longer. And GRIN, props to them, Jonathan. I mean, it took them 59 minutes, but they managed to win game number 1 here against Ravens.
Yeah, and they looked pretty convincing getting that done. Ravens, they had a rough time. The lanes didn't go all too well. I think you had all your bases covered here for the side of GRIN pretty nicely. I think your Doom Techies lane was pretty oppressive for Argus. Your Medusa Enchantress lane was pretty oppressive for Italian or Gangstar. Like, none of these lanes kicked off the way you wanted them to. The fact that Ravens found some momentum in the later part of the game was actually a little bit surprising. I think they executed as a team pretty well. GRIN did provide a couple of openings as well, but I think for Ravens going to the next game, it's going to be down to just getting more active lanes. Because again, these lanes were not strong. These lanes were pretty weak and pretty easy to punish with that kind of opening coming out from the side of GRIN.
Yeah, I think I can summarize it in one sentence, John. Don't pick Alchemist. That's the way I'd like to put it here. This Alch pick just did not do anything. We get to see the highlights here of this game number 1. As you know, props to GRIN. Excuse me. You can't take anything away from these guys. They did a fantastic job here in this game number 1. I just think this game devolved into RRL and you know, Italian Gangster against the world here, because it really felt like no matter what you did as this Alchemist, it just wasn't enough. You know, I'm not blaming Argus for his gameplay here at all, because I think he was playing the hero as effectively as it can be played right now. I just think the hero is kind of weak. That's how it felt.
I think it's a doubling down as well, right? Like Alchemist plus Marcy as cores. It feels like a bit too much to have these two heroes having to build up. Like double melee with the same weaknesses of kiteability, with the same weakness of just into a Medusa. Like your kiteability is just a little bit too high. It just became really hard, especially for Italian Gangster. It felt like it was just a challenge every single time to actually be on top of Soul. I think you needed something that was a little bit jumpier. Like, especially after the initiations we were seeing from RRL, no one could jump in and follow up. You'd expect maybe the Marcy to come in, but it's just hard to keep up that pace with a Storm. And
That it is.
I think for the next game, I want something else for Italiano, like something more active. Of course, you can take a look at our scoreboard here. And GRIN, again, taking fantastic wins. Soul having an amazing game. Very worthwhile for an MVP.
Yeah. So we'll take the MVP here for game number 1 for GRIN Esports. And yeah, he did it. He played Medusa, John, and he did a good job on Medusa. As you can see, JPM almost 1k, XPM sitting at 1k. Hero damage almost 100,000, which I guess is not too surprising considering how much damage he was dealing with that Divine Rapier. And of course, the game number 1 did go to pretty much 60 minutes. So you kind of expect some crazy output from the Medusa, and that's exactly what Soul provided here for his team. I'm not going to lie, John, I feel kind of bad for RRL on the side of Ravens after that game 1, because that man, I mean, how many 3-4-man vortexes did he land consistently throughout these fights? And there's just zero follow-up to it, sadly. Just nothing happened after those vortexes came out. And, you know, if I was him, I would not be sitting very happy right now. But we are going to head off to a very short break. And right after that break, we'll be back with our Game 2 draft here between, of course, the side of Ravens and GRIN Esports. We'll see you all again very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are going into our second game of this best of three series between the Ravens squad and, of course, the side of my goodness, of GRIN. Excuse me, Jonathan. It's been a hell of a day here for NADPC Division 2. It is MLP Dota and John X5. Jonathan, welcome back. We just had a 60-minute game just about between these two teams. Jonathan, a very prolonged kind of matchup between these two, and obviously, as you saw, GRIN Esports able to take game number 1 here in this best of 3 series. Ravens not able to pull off the victory. John, any particular draft changes you want to see before we do get into the pick phase?
I think Ravens just needs more active draft. It does feel like, again, their lanes weren't that active coming in. They got pretty stomped. Argus couldn't do much. Italiano couldn't do much. And it was just difficult for them to get a foot into the game to start off. It took them a while to hit their momentum. For GRIN, I don't think you changed much. You had a really good idea in your draft. You had these really strong lanes coming through. Just maintain that same philosophy. They start off pretty strong, pick up the Magnus, and for, it already sets a good tone. I'm surprised Ravens are the ones to ban out the Marcy this time around. Like, the Deuce I get, the Marcy ban is a little bit funky as it didn't look that sharp as well from Italiano. Granted, it's a very different draft. Perhaps, again, from scrims, they have a bit of a read on GRIN. It started with the Techies. Just, okay, Techies Bloodseeker. It's a decent enough combo. I think this opens up for a Lich pickup as well down the line for that Lich Bloodseeker lane. A Rupture onto Magnus always feels good. The hero does want to run around, cause some havoc in the fight, so I like that pick. I think, although I'm sure you've got some words about Bloodseeker, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this hero is complete trash, Jonathan. We've seen it over and over again, this puzzle on Bloodseeker. Look, I know we've seen a lot of games where Bloodseekers look really good. I still just don't, I just don't like the hero at all. Mind you, it is into a Magnus, so at least you do have Rupture into the Skewer. You do have that inherent value there already. And it is a nice combo with the Techies lane, right? Like the Sticky Bomb Bloodright. Any slow with Bloodright is always going to be quite nice. But I swear, every time we've seen Bloodseeker recently, it's just looked like absolute trash as a POS 1. And we'll see if Ravens can make it work. You know, this matchup has proven to be quite close already, at least from game 1 between these two teams. So, you know, perhaps it's going to be a close game again as GRIN Esports. They will go down the Batrider route, which, you know, has proven to be quite a strong support and a core depending on where you want it. So GRIN Esports, why the hell not just take it for yourselves?
No, just have a really stable, strong universal type, 2 universal heroes on hand. I'm wondering whether or not GRIN will consider banning out something like, say, Morphling. Ravens could still flex the Bloodseeker onto the offlane, have Morphling safe, and then you have 2 great universal types to turn into. A Firefly Morphling with all the stats he has is pretty damn scary. So I wouldn't mind that for GRIN to ban out. I wouldn't mind Ravens kind of trying to flex that Bloodseeker either. Open enough that they can kind of make that choice going through here. I suppose what else is there for Ravens? I mean, all the mids are still available outside of Void Spirit. Pango, Ember, Storm are still available. I'm wondering if the Storm's Respect banned here. Right side of GRIN, I mean, you don't have the Pugna anymore to battery it up. So it does look like Ravens are thinking of something else now to play here. To be fair, RRL did have an amazing game. Like, the guy was literally trying to set that game up for themselves. He was going in with the zips. Like, this early Ags build-up in the Storm was pretty damn clever, but just not enough from Ravens there.
I mean, RRL tried so hard in that game. I still feel bad after that game 1. It's fantastic. You know, honestly, even though the side of Ravens did end up losing that last game, I almost wanted to still give the MVP to the Storm. Just how impactful he was trying to be in that game, and you know, nevertheless, doesn't work out for him. Still, final ban out to come before we get to see some more picks. I can't get over how much of a handsome bloke RRL is. I mean, really,
yeah.
I can't get over it. That guy. It makes me almost mad, Jonathan. I'll be frank with you. Some guys are just born with those genetics, you know?
Yeah, you know, he reminds me of some of a character from, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this one, Meteor Garden.
No.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. It was really popular in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like the early 2000s. That he looks like a guy from that era, And he rocks that style. Like he looks really damn good. Because I knew a lot of guys who tried to rock the long hair with streaks, look pretty bad. RL rocks it. And Ravens are rocking the clinks out now. Mr. Skeletal himself shows up.
Would you believe once upon a time back in my day, John, I had long hair with streaks?
Oh, I've seen the pictures. I have not seen it with the streaks, but I've seen the picture of you with long hair. And honestly, wasn't that bad. You look maybe a little bit emo, far more emo, and the beard wasn't as majestic, but you honestly looked pretty all right, Mike. No, wasn't bad.
They used to call me Jesus with that haircut, John. It's just literally say that was my nickname back in those days. Good old days. I took it as a compliment, obviously, Jonathan. You know?
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I hear that fella's pretty cool.
He's
not
a cool
a bad
guy.
resemblance to hold on to. Yeah.
GRIN ESPORTS. This
GRIN.
is a cool pickup. They've got LC now. This is a very strong pick. That was a great segue, by the way, Jonathan, that I just made.
Yeah, that is absolutely excellent, Mr. Mike. As LC, we've seen this here crush lanes up against melee matchups, and you've got a Bloodseeker. This is going to be a really fun time for GRIN to just hammer in that lane. It's going to be pretty rough for Argus if he is going to be stepping into that Bloodseeker safe lane. It's just not going to be fun. Like there's no two ways about it. LC plus Batrider as a lane as well. It's pretty damn impressive. You can afford to run the Rubik 5. So I like that from GRIN. Like safe lane Magnus, Rubik Magnus lane is still intact. You have the lift back skewer. Like a lot of things going on here for the side of GRIN. Ravens, they do pick up the Pangolier. It is a pretty free Pango lane, nothing to be worried about in terms of counter control. Although I suppose I say that GRIN could gun for a mid Mars. I don't know if you'd want that for Rojo Fire Flu, but it is there.
10 seconds remaining.
Certainly is. There's your Pangolier pickup now here for Ravens. So surprise, surprise, this hero makes its appearance in this game. No Bloodseeker counter obviously for Ravens because they picked it up themselves. Final banouts to come now before we can see the drafts finished off. We'll see the Doom banned out from GRIN ESPORTS, and see they had a fantastic game on their own Doom, so they won't want to hand it over. Silencer being removed here from Ravens because it does seem like GRIN ESPORTS rather might be looking for a final pick support here. Then again, I say that it could still be a position 5 Rubik Pos 4 Batrider and potentially a last pick mid to come out from GRIN ESPORTS. It's still very flexible with their draft. Yeah. I mean, you could even run the Pos 5 Batrider if you want to.
I think you keep it Pos 4. Run a Batrider LC lane, run a Rubik Magnus lane. A lift back into skewer is always nice. And just, to be fair, I'm not sure what mid's left that can really deal with Pangolier. You could get Storm, but you don't have Battery, and it does feel a bit greedy with your lineup. And for GRIN, they ban out the off lanes, taking care of the Beastmaster now as well. So not too many left that can be threatening onto something like the Magnus here. Unless Ravens themselves will flex like the Bloodseeker or the Pangolier out, which is still a possibility. So a lot of options left for both sides to close out with. I think out of all the flexibility in both ends, it might be a little bit more flexible for Ravens. Right? Like the offlane Bloodseeker is not too strange. Offlane Pango is maybe a little bit quirkier, but also not too far off the beaten path for some teams.
Yeah. Final pick now, GRIN. We saw the Puck final ban out, so they're just kind of getting a ban out of a bit of a mix of heroes, just in case, just to ensure that their Pango in particular, I think, does not get counted too hard.
Radiant team pick.
And they're gonna go. They're gonna go down the Snapfire route. Okay. Not sure exactly where that Snapfire is laning. I imagine it should be a position 5. I know we saw Sammy Boy the other day running a Pos 1 Snapfire, so yeah, I guess you never know, but...
Wait, if you run a Pos 5 Snap, are you expecting like a mid-Batrider, I suppose?
Yes. That's what I was expecting. I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying that that's the expectation.
I don't know. I don't think your lanes come out any stronger with a Snap in comparison to the Rubik Batrider supports. So you run maybe... This is a bit of a quirky flex, but you go back to mid LC, Maybe run safely in mag, offlane snap. Could be one way to do it. Like LC versus Pango. It's alright. It's not amazing. It's alright. Snapfire into Pango is also like okay, but I feel like maybe the LC has a bit of a better time threatening with overwhelming odds in that lane and trading hits with the counterattack. So I'm not sure. I think GRIN, it's fascinating what they have because, again, theoretically their lanes are strong, but their mid lane choice is kind of awkward, all things considered here. And I think Ravens, they might have a better time now for RRL. Like even just running Pango mid here is not too bad. And they go with the Omni Knight that we were kind of calling for in the last series. Omni Knight does come true. That is Italiano Gangstars offline. Ah.
I like it.
We do have, okay, Rojo Fire Flew on the mid bat. All right, not too exciting. That is a solution to the Bat Rider, right? Like you've got a save, you've got a way to never lose duels for Muzi. So you've got a way of just kind of enabling your draft to play pretty damn fast. I think the lane isn't too bad into a Magnus and a Snap. It's not too bad for an Omni. It's also not the best. I think you can get harassed pretty hard. But I do feel like the lanes for Ravens is a lot better than game one. Is it better than what GRIN has in lane? Probably not. I think GRIN's lanes are still a little bit stronger, but it's a much better showing from Ravens. I expect them to draw the lanes out a little bit more here.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly how these drafts are going to go because they are very, very different. But I do like myself a core Omni Knight. It's this hero does feel extremely broken in the core role right now. Just being able to rush this harpoon item and then just kind of taking off from there, and because you don't really have the greatest counters towards the Omni this game either. Like it's like it's going to be really easy to land Guardian Angels, the Heavenly Grace. Obviously, going to be very effective against heroes like the Bat Rider, the Magnus. How even the LC is probably not going to have the best time with all the heals you can throw out as the Omni. And this should be a pretty interesting game. I think GRIN still probably came out with a better, or rather easier to execute draft. But I think Ravens, backs against the wall here, but still have a pretty damn good chance of trying to make this game 2 work for themselves and force to a game 3.
Yeah, I think this draft can get that done, especially with the Clink support, right? For Wake Me Up, as soon as he hits the Solar Crest timing, you're just going to be free to try to pick off some of these softer targets, mainly just a Rubik, really. Even Snapfire can be a bit tanky, so your main target will be the Rubik, and you can start clearing objectives. Early smoke out here, though. GRIN.
Going to be broken. RRL will spot everyone out here on the side of GRIN, and immediately Ravens are just separating and just dissipating. They do not want to be around for this level 1 team fight when they're off position here. So now grouping up, they might be able to turn and try to force a fight. They haven't got the worst level team fight we've ever seen.
30 seconds to battle.
They'll wait around for now on the high ground, see if they can find themselves a decent position to try and force a fight. Kara will move down. GRIN have now separated quite a bit themselves, so Raven's going to find themselves a nice early observer ward here in the mid lane. That's going to feel quite nice, and well, with that, GRIN have seen enough. They'll leave the area. They'll secure the top bounties instead. And that they will be able to get away with. So it should be a 2-for-2 trade. Pretty even kind of start between both sides. And we'll start off with the bottom lane again while we're here, John. You're going to have Kara and LGTK going at it. And of course, you're also going to have Muzi against Argus here on the POS 1 Bloodseeker. What do you think about this bottom lane? Like, do you think the Techies Bloodseeker is going to be enough against this LC Rubik? Because we've seen this LC prove to be very, very sustainable throughout pretty much any lane.
Yeah, it's just pretty hard to zone out. I think this lane is down to how well the supports zone each other out. Like if Kara can shove LGTK away, you can start playing with Blood Riot and Sticky Bomb once the levels are up for Argus. If not, then, if LGTK manages to work his Fade Vault and zone Kara away, Muzi should be able to deal with a 1v1 lane pretty alright. Although Argus going for the level 1 first should be fine. Can just always lifesteal back up. As long as his lane management goes well, Muzi has to be on point with the denies here. And let's see, and already a lot of damage out into Muzi.
Yeah, they landed the Blood Grenade as well. Muzi really has no way out of this, and he's just gone. It's not very often you see level 1 Thirst on a Bloodseeker. Usually they do go down the Blood Right route, but that is not the case here. Argus just really abusing this quite a lot as LGTK now in danger. Meanwhile, across the map, Salivating Salamander's being chased down. Argus has got a double kill, and ultimately Salivating Salamander at least denies himself off to the neutral camp. But still, this safe lane has started off so well here, as Argus is just still going. Muzi now in danger, but they won't have a third blood grenade to throw out. So this double blood grenade opening from Kara really paying off. And he's already got another one queued up, but it is, it's on cooldown. You've got to wait to buy it.
Not quite available yet. The aggression, again, coming out from Argus, a much better sign than his performance in Game 1. He's already managing to suppress Muzi quite a fair bit. For Muzi's part, you kind of need to wait out your level 3, maybe even level 4 to start to feel better in this lane. Like level 2 overwhelming odds is when the damage can really start to feel pretty damn good into these heroes, start to punish a little bit better. At the very least, again, your top lane isn't too bad here. For the side of GRIN, like Soul should just be able to farm up. Nothing will stop the mag here from just kind of taking control and just kind of getting that build-up you'd want. Fireflu, his mid lane matchup, maybe not the best. Again, this is not too bad for a Pango. Mid Batrider has kind of faded away for good reason. But this is still, a melee lane for a Batrider to work with, so it's not too bad to play with the Napalm. It's not too bad to try to work with a Flame Drake and just try to chip away at RRL eventually.
Couldn't help but notice as well. I just I forgot to mention I saw a tweet from Sunlight from our previous series, of course. Apparently their mid laner just realized that Raindrops gives mana regen. So shout out to RCY, who apparently didn't know that. You see, John, people give us crap a lot for not knowing the most complicated things as casters, but pro players apparently don't know Raindrops gives mana regen. So I feel a lot better about ourselves now, John. It's Muzi. He might not be feeling too good about himself. Nice lift to cancel the blast off, though. Does save the life of Muzi. But my god, this is proving to be an extremely challenging lane for the LC.
Yeah, this is not a good time for Muzi at all. This bot lane's just kind of disastrous. Free farm coming out from Argus. No pressure at all. Muzi not able to farm up, not able to soak up the XP he'd want to safely. So your level spikes are going to be impacted as well on the LC. You are starting to get some rotations onto mid to stop Rojo Fireflu.
Rojo Fireflu, he's running. Wake Me Up, though, with the slow, doing a pretty damn good job of chasing him down. But in the end, Rojo is going to prove to be able to walk out of here. In fact, he's going to try and even think about turning onto the Clinks, but decides better off. Needs to get back into the laning stage and try to get that farm going once again. But with this low HP pool, he does have to be pretty cautious with his positioning.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward. RRL is just able to control that pressure, not under too much threat from the Batrider. Do find top at least.
The Omni-Knight going down again here. Not the best of news. If you are Ravens, meanwhile, bottom lane, LGTK going to find himself in danger and is going to go down. Another nice pick up for Ravens, though. Muzi getting very aggressive. So much damage being told, and Argus really playing with fire there. John getting lucky there wasn't a moment of courage proc for that last hit from Muzi. Otherwise, I believe he would have just been dead. Nevertheless, this bot lane, the safe lane of Ravens just going so damn well.
Yeah, it's kind of a good contrast with up top. Like, it's also a pretty damn good time for Soul, but not as good of a time as it is for Argus right now. And you're just not able to punish when these heroes are low. You just can't chase down on that LC when the Trist is active. I'm wondering if Muzi will actually opt for to press the attack just to have an option to chase with that extra move speed. We'll see down the line. 6-minute power runes coming up, so all the supports heading down mid to help secure. Rojo Fireflu getting priority, and does manage to find himself a haste rune. On the Batrider, that's a major pickup, just that he doesn't have the lasso to play with just yet.
That he does not. Now he does, to be fair. Level 6 just hit now. And in the meantime, Wake Me Up going to go down to Soul. Tips out here from Salivating Salamander. Soul doing some fantastic work, of course, on the Magnus. Having a great old time himself now. 2-0-1 in terms of KDA. So, you know, both safe lanes have been going extremely well for both sides of things. In fact, even the CS is very even between these two position ones. 37 to 36. Really, you know, not much of a difference here between these two. So, speaking of Soul, in fact, hold on a minute. RRL is going to rotate, trying to get something done against this Magnus. And looks like he will catch him out with the Rolling Thunder stun. Wake Me Up to take the kill. And that's something you felt like you desperately needed here as Ravens, and proves to be a very good rotation here from RRL as Rojo Fireflu in the meantime. We'll go for a bit of a dive here onto Kara, and we'll have no issues securing the kill onto the techies.
Nice little pickup for him, finally popping that haste rune. Doesn't manage to relieve pressure on the side lanes, but makes the best out of it by finding a freebie on his mid. I think for the side of Ravens, you're more than happy with the state of the game. Again, Argus's farm is, it's so damn high. They will find RRL eventually with a bit of a dive.
Dire's top tower is
RRL going down. Big kill here from Rojo Fireflu, who he's trying to get out, but ultimately realizes with the blast off available, he's not going to make it. But getting the Pango kill, I mean, you already feel amazing anyway. You don't really mind dying and getting the reset. Muzi, bottom lane. Gonna avoid the blood right. Let's lift up there from LGTK.
nice try.
Argus has hit level 6 and can go for the rupture, but it is on cooldown. Looks like he already expended it earlier on. Still, I mean, this LC is stuck at level 4 right now. It's just a complete wash down at the bot lane at the moment. Now hits level 5. Rojo is actually rotated on the Batrider to try and slow down this Bloodseeker just a little bit. Lasso is up, but the Flame Break is a little bit off the mark. Fireflu still looking to chase, but does get ruptured now into the blood right, and Kara's going to show up on the techies. Can you avoid the blast off? You certainly can. Rojo is still alive, still just trying to juke and jive his way out of this scenario, and he's going to be fine. They are not able to pick the Batrider off. Mind you, Rojo did rotate to kill the Bloodseeker, so in a sense, just surviving here for Ravens is probably a pretty big win.
It is definitely quite a big win. You really need this kill on the Bloodseeker to start to feel comfy. They're making plays down mid, though.
Salivating Salamander really has no way out of this scenario. Raindrops will help him just a little bit, but now Rojo has shown up. RRL does not have the swashbuckle to commit. Skewer is there. Kara, though, with a nice blast off, trying to get Rojo, and they will get him on the Batrider as well. Soul, at the very least, does get Wake Me Up, but they do miss out on the big kill on the Pangolier. Props to the supports of Ravens rotating at the right time to ensure that their mid laner does remain alive.
And they're punishing really hard on GRIN. Like, this is a slow start for Rojo Fireflu, and he's trying to pick up the pace for his team. He knows he's got to be active just because Muzi can't be active. Simply because, well, again, very hard lane up against Bloodseeker. That did end up happening. So this activity is impacting his farm. It's impacting, say, the Travel's timing. Now he's just going for the Vanguard instead. So you don't have that hyper-fast Batrider on hand anytime soon. At least there's some room for stacks coming out here. At least we'll start clearing a couple of that now.
RP committed top lane. Italiano not having the greatest off lane of his life. Kisses, though, are going to be mostly avoided, but still with the cookie landing and the Scatter Blast to follow, they will end up finding the off-lane Omni Knight once again. Another nice kill here for the side of GRIN in the dire triangle. Duel committed. Muzi able to pick up his first duel victory. Immediately looking for a TP out, and he's going to make it. Very nice plays. They will lose their Rubik, but regardless, I mean, the duel victory is going to feel quite nice. And the LC, I mean, he desperately needs it. He's at such a rough laning stage.
One duel win can make all the difference. That's already at least one plate and one chainmail up, so the build up into the blade mail is coming in. And again, a very even game so far, 8-8. 1k up for Ravens, but you're not doing too bad in GRIN. You're kind of suffering in the same heroes. Like, both your safe lanes are having a good time, your mids are kind of even, your off lanes are in a bad spot. So it's kind of nice that they mirror each other's start here, although could find more.
Salivating Salamander. Slowed up here by the Tar Bomb. Blast off the mark though. Now Rojo sees a lot of food around him. Still, RRL is going to try and pounce in for the Rolling Thunder. Rojo actually does get stunned up there for a moment, and now he's kind of trapped in the stairwell. He's actually taking a few stuns here from RRL, but now he's been knocked onto the high ground. Argus was there just waiting in the wake though as the Bloodseeker does get the kill. Is now Muzi in trouble. Oh, Muzi trying to show up to help out, but going to feed another kill away, as so will LGTK. Ravens really cleaning up with their Bloodseeker Argus. 3 down for GRIN.
Just a little bit unfortunate for that positioning there for Rojo Fireflu. And he had to use Lasso as well onto the techies. Not the primary target you want there. They find themselves a big opening on the side of Ravens. GRIN, I mean, this is space for Soul coming out. But again, he's not managing to get a real net worth lead because of the activity coming out from Argus. He's kind of keeping up pace. Again, he's also had a pretty free lane himself. Another smoke out from Ravens.
Are scanning.
Raven Kara finding a few bounty runes for himself, can be very happy with that. King's coming out up top lane. They know Soul's farming around that area somewhere. Soul did just pick up his Echo Saber, but would rather not die right now, as it's a nice TP away, barely avoiding the wrath of Ravens. And while that's happening, the GRIN, they will just push down the bottom tier 1 tower and find an objective for themselves by the looks of it.
Yeah. It's a nice little take, a little bit of a freebie coming out, but they are taking the gate through to try and defend.
And they'll have time to do so. The tier 1 tower is not down yet. The GRIN seem to be well aware that this could be happening, so they have backed off. Rightfully so, as Ravens are looking rather scary here with the 4K advantage. Rojo Fireflu now going to show up. Kara going to be jumped immediately. Rojo going to go for the lasso onto the techies with no hesitation. Does pick off one, and now the duel committed. They've got plenty of damage here coming in with the kisses. That will be a 1-4, as now an RP. Soul, he's found 3 targets. Oh, that is the dream RP for Soul. RRL trying to get the Rolling Thunder. Trying to get some work done here as Italian Gangster has brought back. But it does not look like the fight for RRL. He's down as well. Soul's got a triple. Oh, and that is a perfect initiation from our Magnus. It was a full team wipe. I mean, there was the buyback from Italiano Gangster, but that makes matters even worse for Ravens.
That was just such great patience from Soul to find that opportunity to RP. Sure, you don't manage to find a duel win from Uzi. You know, you don't manage to really start to build up on the LC, but this Magnus, it's starting to become an issue. Especially if you can't rupture the Magnus in place. Like, he's free to do what he wants here. Great combination with the Mortimer Kisses coming out, lining them all up for that big AoE damage. The Wombo combo from GRIN. Not something you can shrug at here for Ravens. And that does equalize from 4K lead to less than 1K lead for GRIN. Swinging back 4K gold themselves. Like that's a massive swing. And it shows a lot. Good signs of life here for the side of GRIN. Soul, I mean, it's just Magnus with Harpoon. You know, the guy can just set up for himself, start dragging all heroes all around, and once Soul has the blink, I mean, if he does that without the blink, with the blink up, I'm a bit worried for Ravens. They're going to have to respect that and declump a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. It's not too hard to forget that there's a Magnus waiting for the RP opportunity in these team fights, and it only takes a split second. As now Salivating Salamander. We go down to Kara, so there's your pos 5 Snapfire there. As seems like the side of Ravens going to just focus on the mid-tier 1 here. RRL already doing some great work and taking that one out. Robo Fireflu is around, but not going to be able to do much in the form of defense here as the Bat Rider. Instead, though, they might find Italiano Gangster on the Omni Knight. He hasn't realized they're around, and he was right on the vision. Jewel out immediately with the skewer play of Soul. Another nice pick up here for GRIN. Second Jewel victory for the LC. This Omni Knight off lane, you know, I was saying I like it, John. It is not paying off at all. Like, you look at the itemization of the Omni so far, he's just trying to survive with this double braces and Soul Ring build-up. the thing is, he has not gone for that classic harpoon item build that I was talking about earlier in the drafting phase. And I appreciate the aura build-up, but I don't think that's why the Omni Knight core is so strong.
No, definitely not. Still,
Nice easy cling skill.
fast punishment.
Salivating Salamander just pretending like there wasn't a sentry ward there. Very good acting there from the Salamander.
Top tier acting from our little lizard man. Just to be expected. I just realized as well, Salivating Salamander is on an actual
salamander.
lizard here. I mean, yeah, isn't that cool? Living up to his name.
He's got the cosmetic of a crocodile, though, Jonathan. So
It's all
problematic.
reptiles in the end, right? Right?
Well, no, I mean, you can't. You know what? If I said that, you would start nitpicking with me. Like,
Yes,
no,
yes,
Mike,
yes.
it's not
Give
how
it
it
to me,
works.
So
So
that's not how it works. Shut up.
Wake
God
me
damn.
up. Poured out. He's going to go down. Very, very nice pickup again here, set up by Sol. And that blink you talked about earlier, Jonathan, it is now on the way. So the Magnus just got a hell of a lot scarier.
It's not going to be fun playing into this Soul. Oh,
Kara's going to get the experience. Instantly
Ooh.
getting bursted down by Sol. So I think you almost wish the LC was here. Like, Muzi just had free duel opportunities just then that he just didn't take advantage of. And, well, rightfully so. GRIN are tipping their POS 1 Magnus, and he is doing a really damn good job at the moment. That's for sure.
he's been on point. Again, his lane was the one lane that came out well for the side of GRIN. Instantly smoke out, take the gate through. No ward to watch that gate. Could find a nice kill in Argus, but he has backed off at the right time. Let's see if they commit all the way into that triangle here.
If they can find the Bloodseeker, that's massive. Like, Argus, he's been trying to get as much free farm as he possibly can for the last 5 minutes or so, but... Well, they're actually going to rotate mid lane instead.
Oh,
Wake Me Up going to
again.
break the smoke. Do they have the dust? They did on Salivating Salamander, but he never uses it. Top lane. Speaking of the devil, Salivating Salamander still being stalked here by this Clinks. And really just can't survive the damage output with the Solar Crest. Argus even showing up just in case, but was not required. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, a Skewer and RP committed onto RRL, but he got the roll up in time, and now he's got the Rolling Thunder. Sol did not have the backup he required. He went in by himself, and he's going to pay heavily for it. Now Muzi gets caught out. Muzi, I mean, he's just not going to survive even with the Provisor.
I don't
Those are the-
understand.
Yeah, those are the kind of plays you just go, why? Why bother, like, going for that RP attempt?
I don't know, maybe just a little bit overconfident there on Soul, but
Dire's middle tower is
his
under
team was split up. You know, you saw Rojo Fireflu head up top, and no one was there to back him up. No duel opportunity coming out for the LC. Just like that, you lose your lead. Back to a 3K lead for Ravens off the back of those really awkward fights. GRIN. Have to be careful about bleeding out like that,
tower is under
because this is still a really good tempo coming out from Ravens, especially with Wake Me Up. He's going to have Desolator up. You're going to have a Clunks problem, despite all the debts he's copped. Clunk's still an insane farmer. And the objectives is the big part. The objectives nothing this fast from Clunks is going to be worrisome. Still a smoke out here from GRIN, no RP.
under attack.
So Soul isn't really going to be taking point, but they can try to get something done here.
Here we go again. Just noticed as well the Clinks is building a Desolator, so there's that. He was going for that standard, you know, carry Clinks build once you do get enough farm up, as Roshan has begun. You do have the side of GRIN around, and they're going to find this techies immediately. But Kara won't mind. He's buying a lot of space for Roshan, but no, they're actually going in for the fight. There goes the techies now. Kara finally going down, but Ravens are moving in. They have actually found the Omni, though, with the jewel out. There is going to be Italian Gangster going down. Muzi picks up his jewel victory here on the LC, and now RRL, when he has a swashbuckle to get out, but the chase is still ongoing. Bit of a slow process for him. Blinks away. Sol has the harpoon to drag him back, but again, another swashbuckle away. It's Muzi trying to get within range to do something. RRL surely goes down. And eventually will. Meanwhile, Wake Me Up picked off Salivating Salamander again on the clinks. But you did lose your, half your squad there, which is not great news if you are Ravens. Like, you might lose more now. Lincoln's broken on Argus, but they are not going to try and go for the jump in. GRIN, though, they're kind of backing in a very separated way. They're going to lose LDTK. And they've actually left Roshan as well. Roshan's sitting at 2/3 HP at the moment. And it seems like Ravens are actually going to go right back to the Roshan pit and try to finish this one off.
It's going to be a big win for them. Should be able to find it no problem. I mean, the RP is ready from GRIN. Soul could make a move in, but they backed off completely. And, well, it's going to be a first Roche of the game going Ravens' way. GRIN just missing out on the opportunity, and that could set them back. Like, having the secondary life up on Argus, keeping up front, could provide a lot of openings out for the side of Ravens. GRIN, they still have some play opportunities. I really like what they have been seeing out from Uzi. You know, going for the duel straight up on Italiano Gangstar. We've not seen a Guardian Angel come out at all. We've not seen a Heavenly Grace to break Lasso. Like, none of these counterfights are shaping up just because Muzi's been on point with his targeting.
Yeah, I mean, usually the Omni Knight seems to be just getting jeweled every team fight, and it's been working out very, very well. And Italiano Gangster, like, going back to his farm, he just finished the pipe 23 minutes into the game. But that's a slow one, to say the least. I mean, at least he has it now, I guess. That's some good news, but certainly could have used it 5-10 minutes ago, that's for sure. Anyway, the beggars can't be choosers. It's here now.
Yeah, you take what you can get. I think the side of GRIN, well, they're building up more damage on Soul, trying to go for the full Daedalus now with a BKB up and running. You should feel safer in the middle of these fights. You have a lot of output already. Combine that with a Daedalus down the line, Soul is going to look to rip them apart. They just need to angle themselves into these fights. They need to commit a lot of sentries. Because quite frankly, their big issue right now is Wake Me Up, breaking their smokes and picking off their supports. That's the one thing kind of ruining them right now on the side of GRIN. Smoke out from Ravens here.
What do they find with this, though? Like, Muzi's shying in the mid lane right now. Not the worst target to try and jump, but it seems as though they will not try to go for the LC. Top lane, Argus is just going to start forcing the tier 2 top tower. Like, he's got the protection of the Aegis, so he's feeling safe enough, I think. And GRIN aren't exactly trying to prepare for a defense either. They're just kind of letting him do this. They'll use the glyph for now, but it seems like Argus is going to stick around trying to force a fight here from GRIN. It seems like they're just going to get away with it for free. Argus is literally just doing this on his own. And again, GRIN are not responding at all. The rest of Ravens are just hanging around the mid lane right now, seeing if they can set up a fight there, but GRIN, they finally do smoke up. They're heading up top. Soul has already actually found Argus on his own. RP is still available, by the way. He got ruptured up on the mag, but he won't mind as the RP now comes out. Jewel committed as well on the Bloodseeker, but they don't have the damage output. They don't have the damage output. They stacked everything. Argus is still alive, still trying to find a way up, but Soul is back on top. Soul picks off the Bloodseeker. Problem is they have lost 2 cores on GRIN. And now Soul is to be targeted on the Magnus. Pacing him down is Ravens, but a nice skewer away here onto Wake Me Up. Soul might find himself a Clinks pickup. The disarms are there, Blast Off is out. Can they keep this Magnus alive? Rojo buys back, it's too late though. They have lost the mag. And Rojo might be dying back if he's not too cautious as he's been slowed up. And I think he's just dead.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And Ravens looking to clean up completely now with a full team up if they can find LGTK. LGTK will be alright, but GRIN kind of just dropping the ball there. I mean, that was... So Soul kills off the Bloodseeker on his own, takes the Aegis. No RP commit will just get it done. And then he RPs and they just can't do it. Like, they stacked everything. RP and then an immediate duel. And then a lasso as well on top. Like, it was just complete panic mode.
They left the Omni Knight alone. Guardian Angel goes on and you don't have a nullifier. So all your physical output there is useless. You can't do much on your Magnus to try to win out that duel. Again, Muzi's been on point every single time to look for Italiano Gangster. This time he felt pressured, even though there was no real pressure, to look for the duel onto the Bloodseeker. Like you mentioned, RP was still there. Lasso was there. They needed to have at least one piece of control to stop that Omni Knight from saving, but this time the save comes in clutch. A big win for the side of Ravens. GRIN. Messing up quite a fair bit. Like that's a massive opportunity thrown away. And in this game, it doesn't feel like you have any straightforward nullifier carriers. Perhaps Soul could build it. But again, he's kind of going all in on a Daedalus and an AC. He wants to be the main damage dealer for the team. I suppose you could try and Muzi, but he's already going to be in the duels anyway, right when the Guardian Angel wants to pop off, so he's also not the ideal. 7k lead for Ravens. It's not too bad for GRIN to come back into, but you'd be kicking yourself hard after that kind of play.
Yeah, absolutely. 6k advantage now sitting there for Ravens. Ravens in the driver's seat now. Remind you, this Magnus is still hella scary, and of course Soul is going for a Daedalus up next. Big damage to come from him. Of course, Argus trying to work towards the butterfly, which is going to make life much more challenging for the Magnus, I'm sure. For now, though, yeah, I suppose even with the butterfly, you got to be worried about the cleave damage, to be fair. Like, if you get a big RP and you just hit somebody else apart from the Bloodseeker, that cleave damage does not care about your evasion.
Radiant's bottom tower
With a Daedalus up, you can just get bursted anyway.
middle tower is under attack.
Can be kind of ridiculous.
They'll have the output. And they just need to coordinate in this one. Especially if that butterfly comes online soon. Muzi has the BKB up, so else he can start these fights a little bit safer. Key target has to be Italiano Gangster every single time. Find that Omni Knight. If you don't, then you're not winning these fights. You have to delay your RP use, you have to delay your lasso, you have to delay everything to give yourself that opening here. And the Ravens, they're just so confident now. They're grouped up, they've taken over the top jungle. They're taking a forward spot. GRIN just trying to farm up what they can while they can. And did Soul change itemization? He's queuing up the Orchid now, so it looks like he wants a Bloodthorn.
Still taking their time. Mid lane, RRL. He's going to show himself in the creep wave. LGTK's around the corner. Likes what he sees. Will break the Lincoln tier. Does take the swashbuckle for himself. Group up is here from Ravens, though. Looks like they're ready for another big fight. Smoke is going to be popped. GRIN retreating already, though. Through the bot lane. They'll run up north.
Radiant are scanning.
I say that, though, GRIN. Oh, they've separated a little bit. I'm not sure if they want to go in like this. LGTK going to be spotted. RRL will make the immediate jump in. Rojo's thinking about going in for a lasso, but decides better off it as now they realize the smoke was there. And immediately, GRIN will retreat. Ravens, I mean, not the biggest kill in the world for themselves, but they do position themselves nicely for the next Roshan now, which is up in about 40 seconds.
They've just been on point with timing this Roshan, taking control around that area. Inside of GRIN, again, it feels like this lineup fights into Roche so damn well, but they just haven't. They've not been in that area. They don't have forward wards to watch that pit. Inside of Ravens just continue to take control in this game. 4k up, not as bad. They're doing a great job of equalizing on the side of GRIN. Man, these objectives are what matters. Tier 2 now being shoved in just a bit. Fortify committed out from the side of GRIN to stall out a little bit more. And they do find a DD for a little Fireflu. They might be able to do something with that, but again, they're just not in position to do anything. They're just allowing the side of Ravens to take what they want at the moment. Full butterfly up now as well. This is when things really start to get scary. And to kill Argus, you have to kind of cleave through everyone else now if you're Soul. And I don't know, the coordination's just dropped off. A halberd up for Italian Gangstar. So this Omni has to be top priority. It already was, but even more so now. You've got to stop that disarm, because that will just ruin Soul's gameplay.
Roshan now going to be the big target, though. John Ravens going to move in and continue trying to secure this game 2 victory. No contest as well. GRIN just are not in position to try and counter this Roshan play. Be taken for free again. Cheese available on Italiano Gangster. Lines being drawn straight through the top lane. It seems like the Ravens squad kind of indicating to us that they want to go high ground, and there's your smoke up as 4. GRIN gonna be in that high ground position though. I mean, they should be expecting the smoke to come. Thorn is completely up now for Soul on the mag. The thing is, though, he hasn't saved any buyback gold. So this is a pretty all-in play for Soul. Mind you, now you don't really care about the butterfly so much as long as you have the Bloodborne against the Bloodseeker. Station does not matter anymore. The Ravens not seeing the opportunity they wanted. They are going to back off, but now GRIN go for the smoke up, looking to maybe head into that dire triangle, and Argus does reveal his position with that blood right. But GRIN seemed to believe he has teammates around him, so they will not rush towards that area. Instead, heading towards the left of the map, trying to find maybe a secure place to farm here for themselves. But all the camps are pretty much cleared out. And had they run towards the Bloodseeker, they would have had a huge pick-off for themselves if they caught him out. But instead, they are going to avoid the fight for now. Which I suppose is fair, considering he does have an Aegis, but had they known?
Had they known, would have been a big pick-off for sure. I think, at the least, GRIN's high ground defense is pretty on point. And RP is always a massive threat. You can kind of lasso people behind. You can stand quite a fair bit away here on Salivating Salamander and just get the Mortimer Kisses off. So your high ground def is good. You can always fight into whatever Ravens might want to do. Ravens, however, they still have that bailout until Yana Gangstar. And if the Guardian Angel goes on, you just win the fight.
Rupture is out. LGTK gonna take the Rupture immediately. They'll try to keep him held up. The Soul's gonna jump in. Skewer is out onto the Bloodseeker, onto the high ground, underneath that tier 3 tower, and now the lasso gonna drag him back into the tier 4 towers. They've got the Aegis down. It's looking like a good setup already for GRIN, but can they land the follow-up RP? It's not out yet. Guardian Angel's going to be procced here, so the Jewel does absolutely nothing from Moosies. He does go down, but now the 4-man RP, but he misses the skewer. Oh, he missed the skewer. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Had he landed the skewer, I mean, you might have just had a 4-man wipe. You drag him underneath those tier 4 towers with the cleave damage. Anyway, regardless, fight is still going. Italiano Gangster going to be dragged back into the tier 3 of the bot lane. He's still pretty tanky though, eating the cheese up and turning right back in onto Muzi. Still there. I mean, I don't know if Ravens can really stick around to try and go high ground without the Aegis up now. You've always got that looming threat of Skewer and Lasso into tier 4s, so they are going to play it safe. They will retreat.
Yeah, they back off. Again, the high ground def of GRIN is pretty damn good if they can land their spell. It's unfortunate for Sola. He did a little bit of a sidestep before the Skewer back. I'm not sure why. Maybe he felt like if he skewered back, they would have died and lost. Perhaps. Does cost them. right? Like maybe he was just worried that they had enough damage, enough output on Ravens that you couldn't punish them under the tier 4s. It's a bit strange, but that was a very on-purpose kind of sidestep, so I'm pretty sure he must have had that. Maybe it's also just the fact that, again, it was near the ramp, and that's always a bit awkward with your viewpoint, depending on where your camera's at. So his player perspective might have been skewed a little bit by having the camera a little bit more on the upper right, rather than dead center on the ramp. Causes him to miss. Could be a couple of factors. Still, Ravens, they're at the point where you're going to have to deal with basically a core clinks at this point. When Wake Me Up is going into the Dateless, he's going all in on the damage with the Nullifier up. So the pressure is really just down to Soul. And he has to constantly land these big RPs. He has to constantly find these opportunities with a Harpoon. And also on Muzi to kind of get these duels off before the Guardian Angels up. Because if they don't, again, these team fights are kind of ruined for the side of Ravens. For the side of GRIN. So a lot of things have to happen in a very specific manner for GRINs, but they're not out of it yet. Ravens respect that high ground. They play it safe. Next Roshan will find a respawn in less than 3 minutes. They are again in position to just take control of that pit. No outside vision for GRIN. Map control's not their way, so it's very hard to reach that Roche pit on either end of the map.
Well, 15k advantage now for Ravens, rather. It's their game to lose, that's for sure. I mean, at this stage of the game, to be fair, it doesn't feel like the net worth's making all that difference, because Soul's the big guy you need to worry about. Like, if you can take down the mag, the fight's pretty much as good as over. He has proven to be quite elusive, though. Now the Satanic to be worked on here for the Magnus, things could get even more challenging. Argus, in the meantime, has got himself a Basher now coming out of the Bloodseeker. One of the ones, though, that are still proving to be the more aggressive team at the moment, because they're pushing in the bottom tier 2. Well, the tier 2 is eventually going to go down. Just letting the creep wave do the work. It's like Ravens are waiting for the next Roshan again, which is still up in a minute 20. But at least GRIN, they are forced back to the dire base now, because Ravens are forcing this creep waving consistently. They actually never finished off that bottom tier 2 tower, so there is that. I do wonder what GRIN intend to do with this next Roshan, because the thing is, Ravens have gotten first dibs on Roshan every single time. And it does feel like at this point you don't really want to give the next Roshan away again to Ravens, but it's like, do you force the fight in the pit? Do you wait for them to just take the Aegis and go high ground? Like, hard decisions to be made by GRIN.
I like how this one feels.
This will do nicely.
Meanwhile, Kara just mining up the whole of this area, so the Roshan pit's going to be very well protected here by Kara. I mean, why not? Like, these mines just do so much damage. You know, it's just starting off the next fight on the wrong foot is never a good start here if you are GRIN. It's going to be a hell of a lot of mines around this place.
There is. I appreciate the mines around the upper jungle as well up top. I think that forms a pretty nice line. Enemy map, very aesthetically pleasing, Mike.
Italian Gangster shows up. Roshan's an immediate respawn, by the way. They do head over to that area. The Roshan pit going to be very popular suddenly. Mind you, all those mines that were placed, sadly not going to do too much right now. He gets called first. All 10 heroes down at this bottom Roshan pit area. There is going to be a smoke pop here by GRIN. They're going to go as 5. Wake Me Up. He does get caught in the clinks. Immediately at least one to be bursted down, though he's surviving longer than expected, but finally does drop. It is now ODTK. Gonna get taken down as well on the Rubik. There is a buyback here on the Clinks, so GRIN looking to try and retreat as soon as possible. Soul, however, has been kind of left behind in the mag. That's the one target they don't want to lose right now. But he gets bashed up. He'll commit the RP, but the Heavenly Grace is going to make it so there's no damage being dealt. And Soul is down. Muzi will drop to boot. Rojo Firefly going to try for the TP away, but is not going to make it. That Omni Knight being left alone just makes it impossible for the mag to do anything.
It's just, again, you have to target that Omni Knight. You have to take Italian Gangstar out. They've had several fights where this Guardian Angel's been an issue. They jump the gun. They get the pressure to just find a pick off and back off, but you can't do that anymore. You're not in the state of game where you can afford to do that. High ground opens up now. Even without the Roshan, you have buyback ready in Soul, but without the RP, I don't know if you have enough.
Here we go. Glyph's going to be forced out the mid lane. Ravens just forcing it in here. Rupture committed on Salivating Salamander. It'll give Soul the reason to buy back into this. Two lanes were being taken at the same time as well, by the way. Ravens now. So they want to go back towards the Roshan. Just try to secure that instead. Play it safe. High ground will be successfully defended just off the back of this RP threat, or even well, not even the RP threat because it's not even up. Just the threat of the Magnus is more than enough for Ravens to just go down the conservative route, even with a 26k net worth advantage. So Ravens, third Roshan of the game. Aghanim's Blessing is going to be available here, I believe, probably for Argus. Oh, no, in fact, no, not Argus. Excuse me. We're not getting the Blood Mist. Never mind. Who do you give it to? I mean, do you want Italian Gangster maybe even? Because then you have the Global Guardian Angel, so he can literally just stand in base and press R if he needs to.
Yeah, it is going to him. The smarter choice, but not as funny as Blood Mist. And now this game pretty much feels unwinnable from GRIN, I'll be frank with you, Mike. Unless they somehow jump this Omni Knight first, it's just unwinnable. And the positioning of Italian Gangstar means that he should, the best bet for him is to actually just literally stay on the opposite side of his team, have the team fight happen, pop R, and then just laugh. There's no counterplay. No nullifiers on GRIN being built up. No way for them to handle these fights. Italian Gangstar has done an amazing job with his positioning after dying a couple of times in duel. Afterwards, just never happening again. Well, let's see. I mean, this high ground threat is still there from GRIN.
There's your Rupture being committed here onto LGTK. Multiple lanes being split push again because Wake Me Up is at top, but Soul's been casually waiting in the tree line hoping to find his Clinks. Problem is, though, the bottom lane is also being forced in and Soul is not there. So the tier 3 tower does drop. Soul now does show up down at bot lane. Skewer is going to be out. They found RRL, but there's your Guardian Angel being committed. Mind you, it was just a Skewer. RP was not committed quite yet, so it could be still a decent team fight for GRIN. The Kara gonna blast off in. Lasso is there on the Techies though. They do lose the Rubik, and the Techies is still alive thanks to this Heavenly Grace. So Argus in the meantime still just going after the bot lane of Barracks, does take it out. Going into the mid lane now, with the Aegis up, still feeling very, very confident. Soul, RP, he's got 2 targets with this. No Guardian Angel this time around. Argus, however, he'll survive just eating the cheese in the Bloodseeker. He actually swapped it out last second, and it does pay off. Now without the RP, it feels very challenging to try and actually defend this high ground. They are still trying their absolute best here. Argus being jumped on by a Salivating Salamander, but it's not going to prove to be enough, as now maybe the Skewer back will do the job. But Argus just fighting back, just not scared of anything, finding the kill on Soul. No buyback available on the Magnus. Muzi down as well on the LC. No buyback on him either. GRIN not calling it yet. Argus going for the dive past the tier 4 towers. Will finally lose the Aegis, perhaps? No, apparently not. Finally does. There you go.
Yeah.
And they've got the next.
The
Mega Creeps incoming.
The reflexes coming out here from Argus has been on point. Immediate Abyssal after the Skewer back. Sure, the Guardian Angel didn't feel as big, but it doesn't even matter in this fight now. Grin's still holding on. They'll have a Rubik back up. I don't know what the trio can do up against this, though.
There goes the tier 4 towers. Ancient exposed completely. GRIN, I mean, they're trying to delay this, but the GG well played is called. And that'll be a 1-1 for this series here between Ravens and GRIN. Forced to a game number 3 between these two teams. We're going all the way. It's 3-game series for both series tonight. Ravens, I mean, It wasn't the cleanest game we've ever seen from either side, but, you know, at the very least, I'm sure Ravens are happy to be going to a game 3.
They don't look that happy. I'm pretty sure they're maybe slapping themselves a little bit for some shortcomings coming out there. Again, the laning phase was an interesting back and forth this time around. I think you had a lot of presence coming out from both ends. Maybe the mid matchup was one that you feel a lot better for RRL. I think they had a pretty good emphasis on kind of changing up the draft a little bit. I think for GRIN, Solo was really the shining star here. Like, his early RPs, his early movement, his itemization felt pretty good. But down the line, might be nerves, you know, playing in the DPC for the first time, but the coordination falls flat where it's like you said, panic mode a little bit. When they jump in, chain all their control onto the Bloodseeker, then down the line they stop paying attention to Italiano Gangstar. The Guardian Angel just up against this physical lineup felt amazing. You know, at some point you get the Abyssal Blade, or even just a basher up on Argus, and you can't do much as your Magnus anymore. Like, you just get out right-clicked and outscaled. So for GRIN, a couple of things to sort out there. Very competitive series so far. I'm sure GRIN would have wanted to go out with a 2-0, but now they're going to have to look out. They're going to have to rally in game 3 to try for a 2-1.
That they will have to, again, like, props to Ravens for being able to push this game push this series to a game 3. Yeah, GRIN, they were really just relying on Soul being able to make the comeback for them happen, and it obviously just does not end up working out in that way. It's Ravens improving to just be the better team here in game 2. That is considering most lanes apart from Argus's lane went quite badly, but still just the patience game, just taking their time, making it happen, and we're off to a game 3 here between these two teams. Great news for Ravens. GRIN maybe just going to be keeping themselves after this game 2 as well. Not going to be feeling too good about it, I'm sure. Still, game 3 upon us. Can't wait to see what kind of draft changes are here for either side, as we are, of course, going to hand over an MVP for the side of Ravens, and it is going to go the way of Wake Me Up, displaying Clinks, you know, making life a living hell for the support of GRIN, and you saw how many times poor old salivating Salamander had to deal with this damn hero. And of course, even just going the high ground attempts as well, just the constant split pushing threat was there. And that kind of messed up the last team fight for GRIN as well, because Sol was spending his time waiting for the Kings to show at the top racks, rather than being with his team to start a fight down at the bot lane. And yeah, he does get himself a nice MVP here, Wake Me Up.
And did a fantastic job on the Clinks. Basically just Clinks gameplay, sit back farm, hit Solar Crest, hunt supports, hit Desolator. It's support for the people who don't necessarily want to play support, but want to have impact. It does certainly have impact in this game. Keen to see what happens in game 3. I think it's been very competitive, and I'd like to see a more competitive game in game 3, Mike.
All right, well, with that, John, we are going to head off to a short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with our game 3 between GRIN Esports and, of course, the side of Ravens. We'll see you all again very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are going into our game 3 of this best of 3 series here between GRIN Esports and, of course, the side of Ravens. And it is MLP Dota and John X Fire joining you. Jonathan, welcome back for game number 3. So the deciding game here between these two teams. How the hell are you holding it?
I'm holding up well, Mike.
And it
Going
is
the
MLP
distance
Dota and
with
John X Fire joining you.
our
Jonathan,
series
welcome
here
back
today.
for game
It's,
number 3.
Again, quite competitive for NA in this tour of Div 2. And I think the one change I'd like to see for GRIN is maybe this offlane pick, because LC is normally a really good hero. It felt like it should have been good into the Bloodseeker, but it just didn't pan out that way. Bloodseeker tech is a little bit too much for GRIN to handle. So I think that's where some of the issues came up as well. Muzi had a pretty slow start. We'll see if that's how they adapt in the draft, as we do have that already coming up here. A rather interesting ban by Ravens, taking care of the Terrorblade and the techies themselves. GRIN taking care of the Timbersaw and the Medusa, leaving stuff like the Doom, the Magnus, which does get picked up by Ravens. So I don't mind that too much. We saw how great of a game you can have on a Magnus. Soul did a pretty fantastic job until it just fell a little bit short. I wonder if GRIN picked up the Omni Knight for themselves here. And surely they see how well it does up against a physical lineup and just go Omni and just ensure that Empower RP doesn't do much here.
They could go down that route. And GRIN, they'll think about their first couple picks. You've got heroes like the Void Spirit in the pool if you wanted to go down that route. Batrider's still available. Doom's still available. Would not recommend Alchemist. We saw how terrible that hero can look in game 1.
Not that great anymore.
Oh, they're going to go down the
first,
Pugna
so maybe
Storm,
gunning for the
perhaps?
Storm.
No. Void Spirit. Okay. Interesting.
Not the biggest fan. Mainly because Pugna is already not the strongest laner, so you really pick it as a battery. A battery for Void Spirit is alright, but normally for a Void Spirit battery, you'd prefer a Coddle, just because the lower cooldowns are a lot better on the Void Spirit. So I'm not the biggest fan of this opening from GRIN. Ravens, they go for the Ember, so you get the Ember versus Void Spirit matchup. Then you get the Ember Magnus to start off with here, looking pretty damn strong for Ravens to kick off this game. I'm so curious what GRIN wants to do with his Pugna now.
10 seconds remaining.
Again, it can be a battery for Void
5
Spirit, but
seconds remaining.
if you really wanted a Void Spirit battery, you should have just gone Coddle. Like, really, Chakra's a lot better on Void Spirit than Life Drain is.
It is. They do go down the Ember out here for Raven, so you know the classic counter towards the Void and both the Void and the Storm Spirit here. So Ember being picked up, so he doesn't really mind going up against the Pugna either. Just it feels like a very free hero to jump in the back lines every single time as this Ember, and I think we've seen RRL play the Ember Spirit many times. So not too surprising to see it come out. Plus you have the Ember Mag combo, so the Empower Sleight of Fist is always going to feel amazing. Never a time where that doesn't feel great. Next ban
I'm
phase
wondering
to
what
come.
kind of duo GRIN picks up. Like, what supports can you play that kind of makes up for the
10
Pugna's
seconds
shortcomments
remaining.
and plays nicely into
5 seconds
the Ember
remaining.
plus the Magnus. You kind of want harder lockdown. If not, again, like Omni Knight, just straight up. I think the Omni is still pretty viable. You are mainly physical output on Ravens, especially with Empower on Ember. Maybe you could flex here. Say you flex your Void Spirit safer off
Dire team back.
and run an Omni mid, crush the Ember lane. I think that could be one route to go, but I don't know if GRIN would want to do that for a Rojo Fireflu. But an Omni mid seems pretty good.
It could go down that route, that's for sure. I just don't like.
10 seconds
That's the thing.
remaining.
Like the Void Spirit's already there, so I imagine it has to be a mid Void Spirit now, unless they're going to go down the
5
pos
seconds remaining.
1 Void Spirit
Radiant
route. But
team back.
from the games we've watched, that hasn't looked the most amazing. I think we saw it win once,
Yeah.
but that was, you know, wouldn't dare. I wouldn't say it was because of the Void Spirit that they won that game. final banouts to come here for both these
Yeah.
sides before we can continue with these drafts.
10 seconds remaining. Dire
There's a
team
lot of options still left for GRIN with these bans on Ravens. Like, they ban out the Alk +2 supports. So GRIN has the option for something like the offlane Doom could come out here. Granted, again, if you're running a +4 Pugna, I am not a fan of Pugna Doom lane. But you can still run Pugna
10
5,
seconds remaining.
give the Doom something else that can actually do something in lane, and it starts to feel a little bit better. Doom into Magnus lane isn't too shabby either. GRIN can still go that route if they feel like it. They ban out the Bloodseeker, so expecting maybe the Magnus off lane here. Rather interesting ban, just respect for what Arceus was doing last time around. They go for the Rubik, so that should mean our Pugna 5, which means that, again, if you're gunning for a Doom Rubik lane isn't too bad. You have some pretty good spells to steal. Skewer, Empower, RP, all pretty damn good. Even the spirits from Ember are actually alright, as Rubik does use that mobility
5
well.
seconds remaining.
So I like the Rubik pick. You also managed to break up the Harpoon Skewer back. Like, you have the lift back to at least stop that combo. So you're not going to get totally run down with the Magnus timings here.
Certainly not. Ravens third pick for themselves now. Some supports to come out shortly.
They could gun for the Kotl themselves, right? Like,
Radiant team pick.
Ember Kotl plus an Empower could be good. They go with a Spirit Breaker. So now the Kotl looks even tastier with a Spirit Breaker and an Ember on hand. If you wanted to go that route, I think it feels pretty damn good for Ravens right now. Strong lanes as well. They go for the Silencer instead. So I guess just wanting hard lockdown for something like the Void Spirit. Global Silence always annoying to play into for any Spirit Brother. And it can be really aggressive in lane.
There's a lot of value for the Global Silence this game. I
10
mean, there's
seconds
3 heroes
remaining.
here that just cannot play while being silenced. It's going to be pretty
seconds
nice. And like you
remaining.
said, I mean, even just the laning stage of the silence is always going to feel quite dominant. Just allow that mag the space it's looking for. It's GRIN ESPORTS. How do they want to kind of respond to this? They need 2 more core pickups. They're going to go down the Doom route, which is, another very popular hero, naturally. Doesn't really care so much, I don't think, about the mag silencer lane, so it should be just fine in being able to tank through that. Doom's obviously proven to be very, very strong no matter what happens to this hero, so picked up once again. Still going to have the issue of Global Silence
5
against you, but
seconds
at the same time, there are things you can do about it. BKB, Lotus Orb, all these items are available to be picked up by this Doom. Should kind of resolve the issue of the Global Silence for himself. Does mean GRIN is looking for a position 1 here against the mag, and Ravens, from what I can tell, are either looking for another support or looking for an offlane hero.
Dire team
The Spirit
back.
Break obviously very flexible in the sense that it can be the offlane pick for Ravens if they do wish. Or, alternatively, they're looking for a position 1, which is what GRIN ESPORTS are banning for at the moment.
That are interesting. Maybe expecting, again, Magnus offlane to come
10
out
seconds
with the Ember
remaining.
mid. I don't know if Sven would have actually fit
5
this lineup from
seconds
Ravens, though. Like, it sounds pretty overkill to have Sven plus Empower. Wonder what else they ban out. Ravens been banning out safe lanes, taking care of the monkey, taking care of the TA. Which, to be fair, you don't have the best solutions for something like the TA. I think the monkey just provides a little bit too much team fight for GRIN. And they ban out the Morphling as well. Fully expecting Ravens to still last pick an Arceus hero.
10 seconds remaining.
I don't know, like, I feel like at this point, just get a strong laning
5
4 or
seconds
5.
remaining.
Run Spirit Breaker off with the Magnus safe. Even something like Spirit Breaker plus Silencer lane is pretty hard to play against because of the constant bashing, the constant Arcane Crystal on top of you. It doesn't feel nice for any hero on GRIN to kind of play into that.
Dire team pick.
You will go for the Wind Ranger. So perhaps a Wind Ranger safe lane or an Ember safe lane. I think you just keep the Wind Ranger safe if you are going to go that route. It's rather interesting to see the Wind Ranger again. I think in this case you have some save from Grin, right? Like decrep on the Wind Ranger focus fire target is pretty much a counterplay. Or just decrep onto Wind Ranger overall. It's just one way to buy enough time and space for you to bail out. So I'm wondering how well Ravens can maximize this Wind Ranger. Of course, funny enough, Wind Ranger is a decent Empower target because she does build stats. And your Empower plus damage is based off your base damage, which is built up by stats. So you do have a good kind of combination there on hand.
Well, final pickup here. GRIN ESPORTS. Position 1 still required for themselves. Now, 50 seconds to think about this. Taking their time for this one. I mean, it's not the easiest draft to go against here with what Ravens have drafted. So many things to be worried about.
It's kind of hard to tell what you'd want to fit in. They can deal with illusions to an extent with Magnus and Ember. So it's not like the safest bet to just go in for a Naga here. You don't really have the best team fight in GRIN either in comparison to what Ravens has. Go with the Troll.
Yeah, it's a Troll Warlord coming out. This is not the pick I would say that inspires much confidence in me personally, John, but that's exactly what GRIN ESPORTS have gone for. I mean, laning stage
honestly,
it's probably going to do well, but apart from that...
Even the lane doesn't look great, though. Like, you're running a Troll Pugna lane. I don't know what that does, quite frankly with you. I don't think it does much. That's really my big issue with Pugna. And on top of that, like, it's a battery to a Void Spirit. It's like not the best battery for Void Spirit. You'd prefer a Kotl, and Kotl gives you a little bit more in lane. So I'm curious to how well GRIN can use this, because you're dealing with the off-lane Spirit Breaker. It's just going to run up, try to bash. Maybe level 1 to 2 doesn't feel good into the Troll, but once you hit, say, level 3, level 4, you can kind of take control going forward there on the Spirit Breaker. And again, you have some decent combinations here on Ravens. For GRIN, I'm just not sure. I'm thinking about this draft. Like, a Troll is going to farm up into what should be a Battle Fury or a Maelstrom. A Doom's going to be farming up for Vanguard and Midas and Octarine. So you have a Void Spirit trying to connect with a Pugna and a Rubik. And in comparison to Ravens, where Spirit Breaker is going to be running around, Silencer and Wind Ranger provide decent enough control in team fight with the Ember. Like, these are 4 heroes that are active in comparison to GRIN farming on 2 cores at minimum here, with 2 supports that don't really set up for you. I feel like Ravens draft is a lot easier to play.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think there's it feels very greedy on the side of GRIN ESPORTS. So we are going to get into game number 3 and see exactly what does pan out here. I'm really not feeling the draft of GRIN at all, but you know, we'll see what happens. As game number 3 is now officially underway, so we should be able to head into that and see exactly what is going to happen here between these two teams. I mean, Ravens definitely have the easier to execute draft for sure. GRIN ESPORTS, like, how are they going to play this draft? How are they going to like stop the momentum that should be coming from Ravens with their own? Ravens, as long as they choose to get aggressive after this laning stage, it can be really, really challenging to deal with if you are GRIN. I mean, maybe you see Rojo Fireflute pop off here on the Void Spirit, which it does feel like he kind of needs to do that. Otherwise, you might find yourself falling a bit too far behind. I mean, mind you, we have seen plenty of, you know, Doom Medusa, which you could kind of maybe compare that to the Doom Troll in some sense, but I think Medusa is just a much safer kind of carry to have over a Troll Warlord, which, you know, it's kind of at the mercy of itself almost once it presses that ulti button. You just don't know what's going to happen when that ability has been used up, the old trance.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Did you ever read the patch note for Battle Trance, Mike?
No.
Now caster can use items during the effect. We can use items. You and I. Do You know what item you'd like to use during battle trance?
Oh, John, stop it. That's terrible, Jonathan. That is terrible.
That's the only good thing about the troll. We get to have some fun as well, okay? That's it. I want to use Dagon 5 while that's happening. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Honestly, you think about it, tier crafting a bit with this troll pick. Wouldn't Dagon plus Battle Trance be a pretty sick play?
No.
Wouldn't it?
No.
But the spell lifesteal from the damage.
I appreciate you finding
get back to
something
full.
really, really dumb to talk about here, Jonathan, but this one's beyond comprehension at this point. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to see Troll Dagon coming out. But you know what, John? If the day that it happens,
you heard
I'll
it here
give you credit
first.
for it. Heard it here first.
Yeah,
I
you
will
heard
give
it
you
here
credit
first,
if it ever
Mikey.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Still taking a look at the lanes break out, of course. We are gunning towards our mid lane in the middle of the panel for screen here. Rojo Fire Flu on the Void Spirit up against RRL on the Ember. Pretty even back and forth lane. A lot more denies for RRL, which is a bit concerning for Rojo Fire Flu. And again, the early timings for Ember here, despite playing into Universal. Orb of Corrosion, Phase Boots does feel pretty good. Granted, you're not going to get a lot of value out from your Flame Guard blocking Rojo Fire Flu's aggression, but Rojo Fire Flu also doesn't stop you from clearing out the creep wave every single time with that AoE damage. And you do have counterplay with Sleight of Fist dodge, so you have some options here for the Ember. In that matchup, shouldn't be too bad.
Top lane. You almost had the Wind Ranger going down. Wake Me Up. Barely being able to get away from this. Italian gangs actually kind of just zoning them out, making sure they could not go for a chase. As much as the Troll can be lane dominant, the Spirit Break is one of those heroes that may not care as much, considering it does have five base armor to start. Pretty easy to get away from this this Troll Pugna combo as well by just charging across the map. And once you've got the Vanguard up on the Spirit Breaker, it really does feel like you just don't care anymore about the Troll. Like, the damage output just won't be there.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to stop him, but Soul is looking for a more passive lane anyway. Just wants to farm up. Yeah, with a Pugna in your lane, you're really not the most aggressive duo. You just try to build up and try to work yourself towards that Battle Fury timing. That does leave a lot of room, I suppose, here for Italiano once he gets some levels up. So maybe look for rotations out. I think that's one key factor for Ravens. Again, just play a little bit faster with these early timings. If they can do that, that's when the lineup really starts to feel stronger. Still, again, top going to be a bit more passive here for Italiano and for Wake Me Up against Soul and Salivating Salamander. I think the bot lanes where some of our aggression can kick in. You've got Muzi on the Doom along with LGTK on the Rubik up against Argus on the Mag. And he's being supported by Kara on the Silencer. And this lane, it can go either way. It really depends on who oversteps. At worst, it just devolves into a pretty stable farm lane for either side. Like, Muzi can always just devour, build up. You can try to interrupt the skewer setups of Argus as well. Again, with the lift, it's not going to be easy for Argus to look for any aggressive plays as well. But it does feel like these lanes from all sides are just set to be a little bit more passive here into Game 3, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after the landing stage, though, like, you kind of expect a lot of aggression, at least from the side of Ravens with their draft. Not so much from GRIN. I fully expect GRIN to try and play the Avoid game as much as humanly possible this game. Pretty sure Ravens are the ones that kind of have that need to be much more aggressive than say, GRIN. Now, how's that bottom lane been going? Like, Argus seems to be having a pretty free time. 28 and 8 in terms of CS. Kara can just keep himself in the silencer. OGTK can't do too much to slow him down, but at the same time, at least Muzi gets his own space to farm on the Doom. And of course, across the map, your Troll Warlord is also basically free farming, so every lane seems to be going pretty evenly between these two teams. I wouldn't say that either side is winning out too much. Even the mid matchup of the Void versus Ember Spirit has been quite close between these two, as they are actually going at it as we speak. RRL getting quite low here, but as you can see by the CS board, even the mid lane, very, very even a fit.
Yeah, just a back and forth. Feeling a little bit better for Rojo Fireflu now. Do not want to be dragged away from this lane for RRL to soak that EXP onto 6. No one's kind of set up to die to TP refill a bottle as well. So a bit of a rougher go for RRL. This is around the time you see the Void Spirit get a little bit more out of the lane anyway. So all things kind of lining up so far. And for the
Wake
most
me
part,
up. Top lane did cop the blood grenade, but again, Italian against Gangster doing a good job of just zoning them out. This Wind Ranger, the second time he's almost dropped here at the top lane, but these charges have been very, very on point. Just always connecting on two heroes with the Bastion. In fact, they are going to try here onto the Troll Warlord. Soul, one hit away from dying. Wake Me Up trying so hard to get within range, and he does get him. Nice pick off here for Wake Me Up. Maybe playing with a bit of fire there against the troll underneath the tier 1 tower, but it does prove to be enough.
yeah, it's more than enough to come out. Good rotation out from Salivating Salamander. Although he does leave the troll, does help secure the haste rune for Rojo. So, I don't know, dude.
That's the second time you said it like that.
I don't speak English, okay? It's Philippine Independence Day today, okay? Give me a break.
Is it really?
It actually
Well,
is. My family's out and they keep messaging me.
Do they?
Shut up, guys. I know you guys are eating. Yeah, they're out having some food. Like, oh, come join us. I'm like, I'm not joining you anytime soon. Stop messaging me. Stop it.
It's actually Samoa Day as well, Jonathan. My wife's out having food as well, believe it or not. So there you go. Too many days in the year, I think. You know, there's not enough days in the year anymore.
Too many days in the year.
Oh, you know.
Too many days in the year.
Too many holidays.
You want to
whatever
grow
you wanna
older
call
faster,
it.
Mike.
Nice pick up here from
Nice steal.
Salivating Salamander. Picks up the Wisdom Rune. You're messing me up with that, with the way you're pronouncing it, by the way.
I don't know how to pronounce words. I don't read too good. At least I can see letters, Mike. As Italiano Gang Star is chasing down Salivating Salamander.
Stop saying it like that, John. Decrepify is there. Soul is going to chase him down for a little bit, just zone them out, keep him away from the Pugna. So 1-1 so far, both kills happening at the top lane. Very slight net worth lead for the side of GRIN. As mid lane, a bit of an attempt at the Void Spirit, but not really. Just the last word being thrown out by Kara. No real. Maybe now there's a threat. Rojo? He's still perfectly fine with the Resonant Pulse shield. He's not really going to take enough damage to even threaten his life. As very least, they should be able to secure a power rune quite nicely here for RRL. Even Wake Me Up showing up just to ensure that he does get that illusion rune for himself. Not the best rune, obviously, but the bottle refill is going to feel quite nice. As bottom lane, Argus is able to secure a kill on his own now as the Magnus. Does get the RP off onto the Doom, and Muzi does go down completely solo here to the map. Problem is, though,
Just in a bit
rotations
of an
are
awkward
about.
spot.
Argus should drop, though. Rojo Fireflu goes down mid lane, but they are going to lose the map. So Argus, after finding the kill, does get taken down. But Ravens, they'll take the time to just push in this mid tier 1 tower while they know the supports have rotated down to the bot lane.
That's a good read. You get a TP home as well and get the top up for RRL. So back into the mid. The Void Spirit kill a lot bigger than losing your Magnus there, because quite frankly, the supports finding that kill doesn't mean too much here for GRIN outside of the faster EXP gains. Force to immediately rotate back to mid to try to stop this push. Oh.
Shackle's there, but Kara's already gone. RRL, he actually committed his last remnant, but it won't really matter too much because he does just casually walk away.
Never refuse gold given.
Rotation up towards the top lane here from RRL, but he's only got level 1 chains, so I highly doubt that they can actually really threaten the life of Soul. Soul's going to be just fine to back his way out into the northern jungle now, but considering he could see the Ember rotation anyway with the vision they had. Bottom lane, they want to try for the Magnus again. Doom immediately committed out, and they should just dive the tier 1 tower for this. Trying his absolute best to fight back, but he is slowly but surely dropping as they do get Argus down. OGTK now the one in danger on the Rubik, but is still just going to walk away. That's a huge kill for GRIN. Like, just finding the mag for a second time in a row is always going to feel amazing.
Yeah. Just, again, slowing down. Managing to get a good Doom use off. A little bit optimistic there from Argus to try and camp that lane against maybe reminiscent of the last series we watched, Mike, where it's probably time to just hit the jungle. You've got max in power. No need to soak that lane anymore. Give it out to a support and just kind of build up safely here on the mag. As you are starting to lag behind a little bit, Soul's getting a lot more room out on the troll. And that's him pre-Battle Fury. Once that troll has a Battle Fury, it gets a little bit scarier. Rojo, again, under pressure.
It's going to be okay. Just have to dissimulate. Definitely is, like, in terms of their worth, he's still ahead of the Ember. In fact, in terms of XP, the Void Spirit is still ahead of the Ember. So even with that earlier death here for Rojo, he's still having a pretty damn good time. Not struggling too much on the Void Spirit, though. Definitely wants that Echo Saber timing before he can get very active on the Void Spirit. We kind of discussed the fact that it is going to be quite important for this Void to be able to get active early on, because, you know, he does need to set a nice pace for his team. You know, with the draft they have, they are kind of reliant on him being able to get active throughout the mid game. Top lane rotations are there from Ravens. They're going to start on that top tier 1 tower. RRL having a look around to see if he can find anybody in this northern side of the map, but didn't go quite far enough to find at least the Rubik. Rotations are coming in from the dire end, though, as Global Silence is going to be forced out. Kara has dropped, but they are going to find maybe a Pugna for the trade, and they do. Meanwhile, Italiano Gangster trying to retreat. LGTK's got the Nether Strike to knock him right back, and Italiano Gangster, he's trying so hard to survive. Still will go down. As GRIN, they will find a secondary kill for their trouble. Muzi able to pick one up. It's a successful defense and a successful fight here for the side of GRIN.
Yeah, we managed to get some good punishment out. They force a Global Silence. They only lose the 1 for these 2 kills, and stealing Nether Strike's pretty damn big. GTK is going to feel even better now in these rotations. Although,
bottom lane, they're going to lose Soul. Argus able to just commit the RP for the troll kill, and after such a good engagement at that top lane, just losing your troll like that is just going to feel terrible.
yeah, it's quite the trade-off to give out. I mean, you did find the off lane, but then you leave an isolated troll farming elsewhere. He did manage to pop the battle trance for whatever good that did there. At the least, he got his spell use out, but troll not safe. And Muzi either, not safe as well.
Yeah, Muzi in danger now. Just tries to hurricane himself out of there, but it's not going to work out in his favor. Eventually will drop, and it's back to the top tier 1 tower here for Ravens. They do secure it eventually. It's kind of the thing, like, one good team fight, once those cooldowns are there for GRIN, they kind of just have to slow down, as Rojo Fireflu at the moment, trying to go back in onto RRL. Does have another Astral Step charge, but he's getting rather low. Still playing around here with the Ember. He tries to juke now, but the chase is on. Life Drain will be out, though, into the Battle Trance of Soul to try and secure RRL, and they have got him. Nice little juking here from Rojo. Still being charged there by Italiano Gangster, and gets bashed immediately after the charge. Still trying to juke out. Focus Fire not proving to be enough yet. Rojo is actually going to make it, it looks like. Still running. Global Silence pop. They really want this Void Spirit, but he does finally go down. It just costs so much to make that happen. I think Rojo, he'll be smiling from the grave, knowing how much he made them work for it.
Really good use of the remnants there. And you can get a little bit of a ping pong effect going there on our Wind Ranger for Wake Me Up, just getting taunted around a little bit. Still, you're not too upset about that set of kills, even though it does cost a lot. It's a 2 for 2, a little bit better coming out from GRIN, but you know, you make it work, and you are buying space out for your mag. At this point, the Magnus is farming quite a lot better than the Troll, although with a Battle Fury up here for Soul, it's not too bad now. He's going to be able to feel pretty good with his own farm. A clump up down bot. They can push in with a Pugna. The smoke play out here.
Rotations are there. There's a lot of heroes around from GRIN, though. Muzi goes down in the meantime in the mid lane, as they have started the team fight down at bottom. Salivating Salamander going to go down. Rojo Fireflu trying to back off. GRIN, I mean, they are sticking around, but I don't believe they can initiate here. The Ravens really starting to take over now. 2k advantage their way. Move in again. Charges out onto the Void Spirit. Rojo Fire Flu. Trying to play defensively, but the charge is still incoming. Rod of Atos to lock him down. Charge will connect. Another immediate bash after the charge, but Salamander will keep him alive with the life trait. So the Void Spirit can retreat safely, but it seems like Ravens are thinking about trying to pressure this bottom tier 1. RRL is going to go for a quick reset, but can remnant back as they are once again going on to Rojo. This time around, a beautiful shackle out from the Wind Ranger. Wake me up. Lining it up perfectly.
Dire's bottom tower is under
And now the tier 1 surely just goes. There's no way to protect this.
Dire's bottom tower is fallen.
Just great aggression from Ravens. Finally getting activity out from Italian Gangstar. Very close to finishing up his Octarine as well, so they go for more.
They will. Charges there. Italian Gangster onto Muzi. The skewer back of the Magnus. They'll commit the Doom at the least here onto Argus, so maybe they can find a really nice trade for themselves because Soul is getting right to work on this Mag and they've got him.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Huge pickup here for Grin. Great turnaround as well because Muzi doesn't even end up dropping. He's alive. Even
They just didn't
RRL
have
still
enough
trying to fight
output.
Rojo.
attack.
Astral step forward here from Rojo, but he does get the remnant away.
Just a bit of a shame. They couldn't get the RP off from Argus that fight. So not having that additional control gave it a little bit of a leeway. Might find LGTK at least.
Comforting rune of regeneration.
TK. Aether Remnant going to save him from the charge damage, but it won't make the difference anyway.
To silence.
Grin. Not too far behind at the moment. 3k behind. Not the biggest deal in the world. 17.5 minutes in.
Dire's middle tower.
And their draft is made to play very, very slowly and just creep up in that net worth and eventually take over late game. Like, you look at Soul's net worth, and he's not too far behind the Mag anymore, just about 300 gold behind. So it's a very even kind of matchup here between these two teams. I just feel like the longer this game goes on, the more it may favor Grin, just purely based off the fact that they have heroes like Doom available on their side of things.
I'd say it goes back and forth. I mean, you always have the threat of RP that scales up as well, and Ember can itemize here.
Chains out on Salivating Salamander. Not going to be enough, though. He will survive thanks to the device of the LGTK. RRL still going. Rod of Atos, and now the Shackles locking down the Void Spirit, but Rojo again has the help of Salivating Salamander. The nice power shot in from Wake Me Up. Landing right on the tip. An immediate charge up from Italiano Gangster onto the Void Spirit, trying to keep the vision up as they really want that Void Spirit down, but Italiano, he had his charge cancelled. Running right into the loving arms of Soul. Did need to retreat for a moment, but now looking to go back in off the back of that global silence. Ravens, they've seen enough. They aren't able to get any kills here. They'll just take over the Dire Triangle instead. Back to the farm game for them.
Yeah, just keep building up. There is some pressure to be aggressive, but as long as you're not overcommitting on Ravens and still finding a pick off or two, you're pretty fine. Like, this game state's not the worst. You still have a 5k lead. Your farm distribution's pretty even on the side of Ravens. You're managing to keep Rojo Fireflu pretty suppressed. Soul is starting to get a little bit big. I believe his Sanj and Yasha is all finished up here. And the Troll can do a little bit more in the middle of these fights if he does decide to get active. But you still have a lot of kite ability for that hero anyway on the side of Ravens. Again, you don't mind kind of sitting back, building up. Eventually, Italiano will have a Heaven's Halberd, and, well, a Troll battle trancing under Disarm is not a pretty sight.
Kara getting caught out bottom lane now on the silencer. He's going to drop, but Argus is there with the RP, dragging them back into the tier 2 tower. It's a lot of damage being dealt, a lot of control, but nobody's down yet. In fact, they're chasing. Battle Trance has been popped. They want to try and go after this Magnus. Sol, though, he's in the middle of everything right now, and this Battle Trance is not doing quite enough to keep him alive. He is down. They are onto Muzi. The Doom will also drop, and the rest of GRIN will immediately just dissipate. It's TP out of here. But 2 huge calls going down here for GRIN. Not the greatest of news at all. So even they find the Void Spirit now with the chains out from RRL. But it won't make any difference. He's fine to just jump up.
Definitely not the engagement you're looking for there on GRIN. Felt like they maybe found a pretty good angle onto Argus. They don't manage to fully lock him in. He gets the RP skewer back, and you just don't have any counterplay. Like, Arubic can only do so much. Apugna's only really there to provide life drain. That sustain just not enough. And then these fights are breaking out without the full halberd for Italiano. If you're already struggling on the Troll Warlord right now, once a disarm's on top, like, I don't know if you even have a game as a Troll Warlord at that point. It just doesn't feel easy at all to play as a +1 here.
Smoke up again, immediately broken though. GRIN, I don't know if this is the team fight. They've popped the global silence and both supports are gone. They're still rushing in. They still want the fight. The buybacks are there from the Rubik. Sol, he's going in by himself here. He has the Battle Trance to play with, but I'm not sure if this is the one. They're all dropping way too low right now. Oh, but hold on a minute. They've got RRL with the Battle Trance just ensnaring him up. Now it's the side of the Dire, or rather the Radiant dropping as Argus jumps back in onto Rojo, but now needs his own way out. Somehow that team fight ends up working in the favor of GRIN. Raven's the one that needs to retreat now. The Sol, he makes it work. They do commit 2 support buybacks for this. But now they have Roshan to play for, so it's worth it for GRIN.
And they should be able to clear it out fast with that Troll Warlord. Really good positioning from Sol, knowing that he could push this hero a little bit further inside of Ravens. Maybe overstaying their welcome a little bit when the buybacks came out, just not being able to retreat, kind of focusing in on trying to find that Troll Warlord does cost them. As an Aegis coming out here for Sol is going to be massive. Basically 3 lives in this hero with a Battle Trance on top. Just to get 1 die back here on Raven's end.
Yeah, I mean, I think LGTK won't really mind dying though, to be frank, because he just gets that long respawn timer gone. But yeah, I mean, they get something for their trouble. Problem is, though, the Aegis is now the way of GRIN. Sol mid lane, just gonna force RRL back once again. A charge out here, Italian Gangster moving in onto the Troll. Does have the Nether Blast, or the Nether Strike to play with. Chains out as well. Battle Trance is still available, however, and well, the Salamander life draining once again as Argus looking for an RP attempt, but the Doom is out. This is not the fight it seems like. GRIN can really just go in and try to capitalize now. They lose Salivating Salamander, but they've got Italiano Gangster held down there for a moment as he will charge back in. Sol, what are you waiting for? Where's the Battle Trance? He's still waiting it out. The Aegis is available, but no, it ends up going down now. RP committed. Argus back in, has found Rojo. Italiano Gangster charging back in onto the Troll. Sol still has the Battle Trance. No, he actually used it.
He used it a while ago. Yeah.
Italiano Gangster.
He's disarmed.
Oh, he was this. Excuse me. RRL gonna move in now. GRIN just getting annihilated in this mid lane. They will find Muzi, they'll find Sol. And that's a full team wipe. Here for Ravens, they just end up taking out everybody.
I like that read coming out from Ravens, knowing that with a Heaven's Halberd, you aren't scared of Troll at all. He pops Battle Trance, so what? He's just going to run into you and die. They managed to kite around really well. Great Doom coming out from Muzi, though, to stop Argus from getting a big RP, but it doesn't even matter in the end. Argus still manages to get it done, and I've never seen a team spam tanks out that often, but Ravens in high spirits off the back of that. Again, RP, Aegis being taken out. You're the ones fighting into Aegis, and GRIN just aren't able to counterplay. There is some value, say, in the Pugna trying to heal up some of these heroes, but their target prioritization on Ravens have shifted. They are actually hunting down Salivating Salamander much more often, ensuring that he's not able to maximize their use of Battle Trance. He's not able to stall out these fights any longer than they have to be. And past that point, you know, once this Pugna's taken out, you're stuck with a Rubik trying to playmake for the team. It's just not enough.
11k advantage now for Ravens, a massive, massive lead. Seems like all the weight is on Soul's shoulders once again here on the Troll. What is it?
I saw someone ask if RRL was Ken from Barbie. That's a pretty sharp compliment, you know? All the actors are good lookers.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like he does kind of remind me of that, which is a compliment, by the way. I'm not trying to be insulting in any way. I haven't watched the Barbie movie though, Jonathan. Only going off the ads that I've seen.
It's still coming out, Mike. Soon. IMAX.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet.
Let's go.
Okay.
Not yet.
What do you mean? Like
Soon,
I thought it
Mike,
was in
soon.
cinema.
I want it to be in cinema. Not yet.
Are you?
At least not
are
in
you
Philippines.
actually
I'm
gonna
not
go watch
aware.
it?
I am actually going to watch it. What?
Why?
You judging a person by what they want? I don't know. It seems fun.
Yes.
I want to see
Yes,
Ryan
I'm
Gosling
judging
in
you,
a
John.
goofier role. It's Ryan Gosling and Simu Liu. No? It looks like a fun film. Ryan Gosling chose it because he said the script was good. Okay?
And see,
I trust
this
when
is
Ryan
why-
Gosling says the script is good.
This is why when you give me crap about my recommendations, I can't take you seriously, right? Because you'll tell me
I mean,
you haven't watched
look.
like what?
Like have you watched Blade Runner? Blade Runner
Hold on.
2049?
Soul getting caught out here on the Troll. RP committed.
Yikes.
Soul, he needs some help right here, right now. Not going to get it in time. Salamander was spotted, chained up, cannot TP away. They've even found another in the form of the Doom. It's complete domination now from the Ravens. They will find a third pickup.
Tower is under attack.
This was the kind of concern for this draft, right, of GRIN, when we were still in the draft phase, is what they were going to do once you got to the stage where Ravens could get aggressive. And well, it doesn't really feel like they found an answer to that question.
No. I mean, that was BKB pop from Soul, but BKB literally for nothing. Just can't do much. He gets bashed through, he gets RP'd, and he doesn't even manage to cast his Battle Trance, so they're not able to do much. I get why they have to frontline with Troll, just because, well, you know, you have to frontline with Hero because he can bait out with Battle Trance, but the chain control is there. Oh no. That could have been a scary charge from Italiano.
Could have been. He'll be fine though,
Dire's top
GRIN.
tower is under
Not
attack.
able to capitalize. Smoke is up though. 4-man smoke here from GRIN Esports. They're going to try and head towards the south through their own triangle. They're running right into Argus. I believe they actually pinged him out because he was underneath vision. Argus skewering away, realizing that maybe they are on the
Dire's
chase
top
for
tower
him.
is under attack.
Does have a Shadow Blade up as well, so that makes it even harder for them to catch this man.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's top tower. is
GRIN now
under
into the mid
attack.
lane. They'll see RRL.
Radiant's middle tower.
You don't have any kind of nice initiation though. Like
Middle tower has
nobody's gonna blink to jump in. Like LGTK doesn't have one. Muzi doesn't have one. So you could rely on Rojo, but
tower has fallen.
yeah, go on, John.
It's a bit tough. Like, I don't know how you start these fights. Maybe once Blink Doom is up, you feel a little bit better with Muzi up front. But it's just so simple for Ravens. Either you Remnant in, dance around as RRL, or you literally just charge like a maniac in Italiano. What he ags up, 4.7 second cooldown, Charge of Darkness with a Quickening Charm and Octarine. How do you stop this guy?
You don't, Jonathan. He's a spirit breaker. He's just charging around. He's doing a great job of it too. The charge cooldown just makes me laugh at 4.7 seconds. It really does. It's too much. But I love it. You do, you Italiano gangster.
No cares. And no cares in the world. Just run around. Be a maniac. A true gangstar right now, Mr. Italiano.
Oh, stop pronouncing
Doing the drive-bys.
It bothers me that you're pronouncing the R. Really
It is
does.
Italiano gangstar.
Argus?
He's typed the R, Mike. It's not my fault.
Yeah, I suppose we should call this guy Argius then. Argius, trying to screw his way out. It's going to be fine.
Good on
Italiano
you, Mike.
gangster. They charge in as well. I mean, this could be a team fight to start here again if you are on the side of Ravens, because now they've kind of expended their initiation. GRIN in trouble already. The RP committed. Argus just not even dealing with LGTK. He's still just walking out of this. In fact, Salivating Salamander, he's the first one to drop. In goes the gangster. He takes down the Rubik. Now Muzi gone on the Doom as well. Soul being chased. The charge is there. It's just such a low cooldown. You can't escape. You have to go for the team fight. But there's another one. Argus, though, he was dropping low to the Troll Warlord's damage output. Another strikeout from Italiano Gangster. Running across to the other side. Has another charge if he wants to commit it. We'll just rotate out of the fight. This is balance, John. He's fine.
He got so many charges out. That's just... What? I believe he got like 3 Nether Strike uses as well. And Soul is not safe here.
Charges out. Incoming.
Oh, speedy.
Heads up. Soul gonna get stunned up. Italian gangster. Well, that's the Pugna gone. Muzi actually TP's into this. Nether Strike will connect. Wake Me Up gonna start with a focus fire and a shackle shot onto the Doom. But you're fighting by the tier 2 tower, and now that you see the Doom is expended, they just want to retreat. However, they don't land an 8th Remnant onto the Spirit Breaker, so he is still running away. Eventually, Soul will take him out, but at what cost? Muzi is down. Soul at least does have Battle Trance available for this fight, and he probably will need it. Skewer onto the high ground now.
Oh, no.
They're just messing with him. Argus, he doesn't have RP. He can't stop the TP.
Oh my god. Drag him up top. See what he does. Does have the TP at least, so he manages to back off. A little bit more of a back and forth. Still a win coming out for Ravens. 3-1. Although, he still gained quite a fair bit on GRIN despite losing 3 heroes there over that 1 kill on Italiano Gangstar. 34-16, 17k lead maintains the aggression from Ravens, just not being able to be matched by the side of GRIN all too well. And they're reaching this point where Soul will have his Ags up. So I suppose those Dispels on hand could lead to some more openings, could lead to some more saves here for the Troll. Whether or not that's enough is a different question. Roshan is back up now. And you do have the Blink ready on Muzi. So you have some initiation on hand. He's working onto the Blink next. And that's where the fights start to get a little bit easier to execute for GRIN. You still have to worry about the RP, the Global Silence, all of that. But AoE Doom should make it a lot more awkward for Ravens, especially with how Italiano Gangstar is playing. Like, you're not going to be able to get free charges anymore with that AoE Doom up. That is still a ways off, but shouldn't take too long as... Well, never mind what I just said. Mike Muzi just queues up the Carjan Greaves instead.
Yeah. Don't worry, John. I wasn't listening anyway. GRIN, they're going to group up here as well. Joking, John. Roshan started.
Are you though?
I mean, we'll never know. Aegis Cheese available on this Roshan. GRIN aren't trying to get there to force the fight, but not going to get there in time, sadly. So they'll maintain this high ground position. But the bot lane is already kind of being forced in here by Ravens. If they smoked up as well. Mid lane, RRL, gonna be spotted. They'll even see the Void Spirit dissimulating in the mid lane. So Rojo, he's still in danger. Argus is chasing him down. Charge is gonna be there. They got the vision just in time. Muzi even thinking about going for the Doom, but does cancel it in time as well. Just wanted to make sure there was no follow-up here onto Rojo Fire Flu. Just in case from the Spirit Breaker. Skewer attempt from Argus not really going to pan out in his favor.
It's poking and prodding. Full ags up and running now on RRL. So more spirit spam coming out from our Ember. Lots more mobility coming through as well. 20k lead being maintained here by the side of the Ravens. And for the side of GRIN, they don't have much they can do. They're working towards a nullifier coming out here as well for Rojo Fireflu. A little bit more kind of play with it. They give Argus the Wisdom Rune. They'll go for the Tormentor, getting the Gale Force up for Wake Me Up. A little bit more utility there as well. Argus, interesting angle.
I mean, it's the one you don't really expect to come out from, right? Like, you wouldn't expect the Magnus to come out of there, but you know, he will kind of leave it be anyway.
You're under vision there, so very interesting.
I suppose so. So always going to be a party people, John. Jump in. They have got the Wind Ranger here, so Wake Me Up going to get taken out.
Why the party pooper? You're the person who looks down and, you know, fun stuff. Like,
like Barbie.
like animes. Yeah, like Barbie. Ryan Gosling says the script is good, okay? I trust
Who
him.
gives a crap what Ryan Gosling says? But this is, you know,
Have you watched Blade Runner?
no. I
Have you?
haven't. No.
There you go. That's all you need to know.
What is that? A cinematic
all you need to
masterpiece?
know,
Is it? Is it some god tier
Actually,
movie?
I'd say it is. The original Blade Runner for sure. Definitely.
Oh, Remnants
that
backward
film.
here from RRL.
It's a couple of warning shots. This is... I mean, this game is a little bit awkward to drag this late for Ravens, because, again, the eventuality of down the line, down a long time, is Doom Ags, Troll has Ags up, going into MKB Satanic. You're gonna have a lot of solutions here on the side of GRIN. Ravens, even with Aegis, are not fully committing for objectives. The pinks are coming out now. The full Silver Edge is out for Argus. So he has some good amount of damage to dish out.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Bottom tier 3 tower going to be under siege again from Argus. Salivating Salamander. Trying his best to delay this the best he possibly can. Though Argus now through the tier 3 tower. Going to go for the bot rats.
Dire's structures
Skewer cancelled off pretty early on there from Argus. Lincoln's broken now. Could think about going for the Doom, but they're not really in position to really burst down the mag, and he's got Aegis for another 55 anyway. Jump in. Skewer is there. They've got the Pugma. Salamander is down. No buyback available for that Pugna. He's down for 40, though a stolen skewer now from LGTK could set up quite nicely, but Argus will just skewer back the other way. Is now a 4-man stun, and the RP is going to be committed. It hasn't caught as many as they would have hoped, though. Soul, he did use the battle trance for this, and the Magnus is coming back up, so this could be a really bad team fight for GRIN. They don't have another way of keeping the troll alive, though he does have buyback available. He may need to commit it right now. The Pugna Doom will buy back into the game.
Radiant's top
Ravens,
tower is under
do they back off?
Dire's bottom
It seems like they will. They don't have a creep wave with them, but they do have one pretty close by in the mid lane, so they could decide to keep going if they really want to. There is a very tasty double damage rune as well under Radiant Vision right now, so I think RRL might want to secure that, but instead they will actually go for the fight onto Rojo Fireflu. Chase down onto the Void Spirit, though he is going to be able to juke them out with the Dissimulate. Instead, charge now back in onto the Rubik. Taliona Gangster has found himself another target as LDTK. Looks like he is going to go down. No buyback available for the Rubik. That was a dieback immediately. The Salamander will die back as well. There's your buyback now being committed by Soul. So he needs to get back into this team fight and try to help out his team, but it may just be too late. It's 3v5. Again, there's just casually a double damage rune still just sitting there in the bot rune spot. Ravens have decided to not grab it yet. In fact, Wake Me Up's the one going to run and get it. Does bottle it up.
Yeah. A rather interesting choice to have the Wind Ranger be the one to pick it up. Guess because she has mobility, she can afford to kind of go back, come back in, and they'll still keep up with the siege. Argus, all by himself, is doing more than enough damage to just clear the objectives. And what do you do to stop him, man? You just can't with Italian gangster constantly threatening to charge right through.
Surrender Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Dire's middle
More Ravens. 2 racks is up now, looking to go for a third. Rojo Fire Flute. Try and back his way out. Italian Gangster, he's such a menace on this Spirit Breaker. Just the amount of charges coming out. It's just too much. Even for me, it's too much, John. As much as I love this hero, this might be a little bit overboard, Mr. Frog. I mean, look at this. I mean, this game's over. It's Soul versus the world now. And the world is winning. Soul 1v5. I don't think it's going to work out for him. He's just getting kited consistently. And GRIN, they will call it. GG all played. 41 minutes in.
Dire's top tower
You will get the 2-1 victory here for the side of Ravens. And it was a well-earned victory. Jonathan, of course, game 1 did go the way of GRIN, but eventually Ravens, they get it together and they make the win work.
Yeah, they managed to rally. They got a much more active draft here in game number 3. And they managed to run down. They hit their tempo. They hit that aggression. For the side of GRIN, this one may be coming down to the draft a little bit more. I don't think the troll pick was the ideal core. Then again, a lot of core pickups were banned out by the side of Ravens, so probably just a result of that, only having limited options left. The troll and the Pugna lane just didn't do enough. I think that is a standing point there as well, where it just... Pugna troll just doesn't have synergy, so you can't really pressure, and you're just free to farm up there on Italiano, which kind of led to all of the issues the Spirit Breaker brought out.
Yeah, Italian Gangster really making life hard. And this is kind of the build I've been kind of complaining about, that we don't see enough pros build. Like this Ags, Scepter, and Ultra Core build up. I mean, 4.7 second charge cooldown is pretty ridiculous, considering most of the time you're charging and the cooldown just goes down anyway. Like it's pretty ridiculous, you know. It's a bit overboard. You see how a team fight just can't really it can't really happen when there's just charges going on non-stop through your team. Props to him though for going for that build up and just making it look amazing this game, as we are going to get to look at some highlights of that game number 3. Obviously, it did feel like Ravens were pretty much in the lead most of the game. Like we kind of made the comment about the draft that the side of GRIN ended up going for. Like it's kind of greedy, kind of late game orientated, but even then you could make the argument Ravens still just had the better scaling draft. So it's just the troll last pick for me just kind of,
on the flip side,
you know,
though, out of a timeout,
it kind of did it for me. John, I was kind of, I was out by that point.
So I wouldn't be surprised to throw out a very aggressive.
I can't blame you.
You're right. I think about the ascent.
I mean,
hit,
Soulride
one
is
defense,
best. He had some good moments on it, but
Just a
the
couple
shortcomings of
moments
the heroes
ago,
are
off
just
the
way
side
too
of
much to
timeout.
play up against. And the itemization was there on the side of Ravens.
the
Just
end
the
from
Heaven's
how big
Halberd. Pretty much take away your bite. Like you pop Battle Trance, you get Heaven's
close
Halberd,
game,
and
though.
you're just chasing to die. That's
Doesn't
just the
look like they have
tendency with that
anything to do
hero.
here. Maybe some aggression,
Again,
off
they
the
couldn't-
paranoia and the flash for Victor to take space, but
Match the
Actually,
tempo
Knock
coming
doesn't
out
have
from
any
the side of
presence there.
Ravens.
Looks like Sugetsu will end up rotating
Ravens
towards
GRIN,
A.
they look promising
After he
though,
throws
to
the
be
orb,
fair
but
to them.
no, actually.
In this series, they managed to take a
And no
game
aggression
off
out
the
of
side
energy, so
of Ravens, a
mostly
veteran
cleaning
NA
up.
squad at this point.
These early hits, and
And these are the newcomers coming in from
Energy
close
has
balls.
swapped this wall over towards this
They
C.
don't look bad.
remember, I was
They
commenting
look
on how
pretty damn
Na'Vi
competitive
were
against a lot
using
of these
that
teams.
in
Unfortunately
anticipation,
for them,
but
that
it's
does
because
mean
the
that they are
lockdown.
0-2 in the DPC right now.
key thing here is Sugetsu has his ult.
I think this is a team still with a lot of promise. I don't expect them to actually get relegated
Because he picked up the
outside
orb.
of GRIN.
Remember, Artis was the catalyst for that. Going for that kill, Sugetsu gets it.
Ravens,
Oh,
again,
melt there.
looking on point. This win does give them a
They take
2-0
a
start
little
in the
damage off
DPC. And of course, we
Molly.
have to hand an MVP over. It should go into Italiano Gangstar. I mean, why
My
not,
boy.
right?